Hey truckers, today we're seeing part 26 of Villain Tricks Heroines into Hating the MC. Let's dive into the video. As the weight of the Dao Sovereign palette settled in Lin Xingyao's palm, she felt a surge of anticipation coursing through her veins. This was her ticket to freedom, her chance to break free from the chains of her political marriage and forge her own destiny. Thank you, Wang Jian, she thought gratefully, her heart brimming with elation. As she turned to face Lin Fei, his extended imperial sovereign palette dangling in the air, she couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. I know he put his heart and soul into crafting that palette, but I can't accept it. Not when my future hangs in the balance. Lin Fei's forced smile did little to mask the disappointment in his eyes as Lin Xingya gently declined his offering. Rejected, again, he thought bitterly, his fists clenched at his sides. But I won't let this setback deter me. Wang Jian will pay for stealing her favor. With a steely resolve, Lin Fei slipped away, his mind churning with thoughts of vengeance. It's time to put an end to this charade once and for all. With Lin Fei storming off, leaving behind an aura of simmering anger, Lin Xingya turned her attention to Wang Jian, her curiosity piqued. Who are you, really? She asked, her eyes searching his face for answers. Your skills in array formations and alchemy are extraordinary. You can't be just a nobody. Wang Jian met her gaze with a knowing smile, his eyes twinkling with a hint of mystery. Ah, but you see, appearances can be deceiving, he replied cryptically. I may not be famous, but I do have my secrets. Lin Xingya arched an eyebrow, intrigued. Secrets? Wang Jian glanced at her trio of maids discreetly, his meaning clear. Sensing his meaning, Lin Xingya turned to her loyal companions. Please, give us a moment alone, she instructed, her tone leaving no room for argument. With a nod, the maids departed, their trust in Wang Jian evident in their obedient demeanor. Alone at last, Lin Xingya regarded Wang Jian with renewed interest, her curiosity burning brighter than ever. Tell me, she urged, her voice barely above a whisper, what secret do you hold? Once they were alone, Wang Jian leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. I come from a humble background, ascending from a lower realm to this world, he confessed, his words carrying a weight of truth. Lin Xingya's eyes widened in astonishment. You ascended? But how? Wang Jian held up a hand, silencing her questions. That is a story for another time. For now, just know that my insights and skill come from a place far beyond the reach of this realm. Lin Xingya's mind whirled with 1,000 questions, but she held her tongue, sensing the gravity of Wang Jian's revelation. An ascendant, such beings are rare, even mystical, and their talent is considered extremely high. But here he stands before me, a living testament. As the realization sank in, Lin Xingya couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for Wang Jian. His humble demeanor belied a wealth of experience and knowledge beyond her wildest dreams. I understand, she said finally, a sense of awe coloring her voice. Thank you for sharing your secret with me, Wang Jian. You have my trust. Wang Jian nodded, a sense of camaraderie passing between them. All right. Wang Jian then suddenly asked, do you want to see my world? As Wang Jian's invitation hung in the air, Lin Xingya's curiosity piqued. His world? What could he possibly mean? Her mind buzzed with questions, her gaze fixed on Wang Jian with a mixture of surprise and intrigue. Your world? What do you mean? She asked. With a calm demeanor, Wang Jian explained his offer, his voice steady and reassuring. I have a minor world fused with my divine soul, he began, his eyes meeting hers with unwavering certainty. I can take you there, if you wish to see it. But you mustn't resist. It could harm both of us. Lin Xingya's eyes widened with astonishment. A minor world, fused with his divine soul? Such power! With a hesitant nod, Lin Xingya acquiesced, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime. As Wang Jian's touch brushed against her forehead, a surge of energy enveloped her, pulling her into the depths of the unknown. In the blink of an eye, they vanished from the mortal realm, transported into the boundless expanse of Wang Jian's minor world, the Sky Martial continent. As the unfamiliar landscape unfolded before her eyes, Lin Xingya's breath caught in her throat. This is breathtaking. Wang Jian led her through the majestic realm, his presence towering like a god among mortals. Lin Xingya couldn't help but feel a sense of awe wash over her as they traversed the sprawling landscape. This is my world, Wang Jian proclaimed proudly, his voice echoing across the heavens. Here, I am the true God, omniscient and omnipotent. Lin Xingya's gaze swept over the landscape, taking in the grandeur of Wang Jian's domain. Everywhere she looked, his statues loomed tall and imposing, a testament to his legendary status. As they traversed the continent, Lin Xingya couldn't help but marvel at the statues erected in Wang Jian's honor, each one a testament to his legendary status. You truly are revered here, she remarked, awe coloring her voice. Wang Jian chuckled modestly, though a glint of pride sparkled in his eyes. It is the least I deserve, he replied with a wink. Their journey took them to bustling taverns where bards sang songs of Wang Jian's heroism, their voices echoing through the night air. Lin Xingya found herself swept up in the atmosphere, her heart swelling with admiration for her enigmatic companion. But it was their visit to the northern states that left the greatest impression on Lin Xingya. Here, amidst the grandeur of Wang Jian's ancestral home, she was introduced to his sprawling family, wives, concubines, mistresses, and even his mother, Bai Liqin. Meet my family, Wang Jian said with a warm smile, gesturing towards the gathered multitude. These are the people who have supported me throughout my journey. Lin Xingya greeted each member of Wang Jian's family with humility, her eyes widening in surprise at the diversity of relationships he maintained. So many women. As she conversed with the women of Wang Jian's family, she listened intently to their tales of his exploits, each story more incredible than the last. He united different races? Brought harmony to the world? Visit en Velben. CM for EU ovals. Lin Xingya couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for Wang Jian, his actions transcending mere legend to become the stuff of myth. In his world, he was more than just a man, he was a beacon of hope and unity, a guiding light in a world plagued by strife. As they basked in the warmth of Wang Jian's family, Lin Xingya knew that she had been granted a rare glimpse into the heart of greatness. Under the ethereal glow of the illusionary moon, Wang Jian and Lin Xingya stood side by side, the soft light casting a gentle radiance upon their faces. The beauty of the scene was mesmerizing, the tranquility of the night wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. It's remarkable, isn't it? Wang Jian began, breaking the silence with a thoughtful tone. To see all the races working together, helping each other despite their differences. Lin Xingya nodded in agreement, her eyes tracing the delicate patterns of light dancing across the night sky. I never imagined such cooperation was possible, she admitted, her voice tinged with awe. But witnessing it firsthand, it's truly eye-opening. As Wang Jian closed the distance between them, Lin Xingya's heart fluttered with anticipation. His gaze locked with hers, an intensity burning in his eyes as he spoke of his aspirations for the upper realm. I want to bring this unity to our world, he confessed, his voice soft yet resolute. But I know I can't do it alone. I need power, yes, but more importantly, I need allies who share my vision. Lin Xingya's breath caught in her throat, her pulse quickening with a mixture of excitement and determination. And you want me to be one of those allies, she surmised, her voice barely above a whisper. Wang Jian's smile was gentle yet filled with hope as he nodded. Yes, Lin Xingya. I believe in you. Together, we can make a difference. With a sense of purpose burning within her, Lin Xingya returned his smile, her resolve firm. "I will do everything in my power to help you," she vowed, her voice ringing with conviction. With a nod of gratitude, Wang Jian reached out, his touch enveloping Lin Xingya in a warm embrace of divine energy. In an instant, they were transported back to the upper realm, the familiar surroundings greeting them like an old friend. As Lin Xingya glanced around, she realized that not much time had passed since their departure. "How is this possible?" she asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. Wang Jian chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Time in my minor world flows differently," he explained casually. "What may seem like hours there, is only minutes here." Relief washed over Lin Xingya as she realized she wouldn't have to explain her absence to her maids. With a grateful smile, she turned to Wang Jian, her heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she said sincerely, her eyes reflecting the depth of her appreciation. Wang Jian's smile widened, his gaze filled with warmth. "No thanks necessary, Lin Xingya. We are allies now, bound by a shared purpose." As Wang Jian soared through the celestial expanse towards the Lin family's star, a sense of contentment settled over him like a comforting cloak. "Lin Xingya's impression of me is favorable," he thought, a pleased smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "This incident will serve to strengthen our relationship." But his moment of satisfaction was abruptly shattered as he sensed a sudden rush of hostility hurtling towards him. Without hesitation, he swiftly intercepted the blade hurtling towards his heart, his senses alert and focused. Whirling around, he came face to face with Lin Fei, the fiery determination burning in his eyes mirroring the flames that danced in his palms. Wang Jian's brows furrowed in mild surprise, though he remained composed. "So, the confrontation begins." Well, if it isn't Lin Fei," Wang Jian remarked, his tone laced with amusement. "What brings you to my doorstep, my friend?" But Lin Fei's response was anything but friendly. With a scowl etched upon his features, he declared his intention with chilling certainty. "I'm going to kill you," he spat, his voice dripping with venom. Without hesitation, Lin Fei unleashed a torrent of flames, imbued with the power of the Phoenix Ascension technique. But to his astonishment, Wang Jian remained unfazed, a knowing smirk playing at the corners of his lips. As the flames dissipated harmlessly against his defenses, Wang Jian's figure shimmered with an ethereal glow, his form becoming translucent before vanishing altogether. In his place stood an illusionary projection, a mere shadow of his true self. "It's not time for our little dance just yet, Lin Fei," Wang Jian taunted, his voice echoing through the void. "Save your rage for another day." With a mocking laugh, the illusionary image dissipated, leaving Lin Fei seething with frustration and impotent rage. An illusionary clone divine talisman, Lin Fei realized, his anger boiling over at the realization of Wang Jian's deception. The knowledge that Wang Jian had outmaneuvered him only served to stoke the flames of Lin Fei's fury. "How dare he toy with me like this? And to think he's getting closer to Lin Xingya." Determined to avenge his wounded pride and protect his feelings for Lin Xingya, Lin Fei made a solemn vow to himself. "I will kill you, Wang Jian, no matter what it takes. And I will do it swiftly." With his resolve hardened like steel, Lin Fei set his sights on his elusive foe, plotting his next move with a fierce determination burning in his heart. In the bustling heart of the Branch family's territory, Wang Jian and Yu Qing found themselves amidst a hive of activity. The air crackled with anticipation as they navigated through the maze of streets and alleys, their destination clear in their minds. As they finally arrived at their meeting point, Wang Jian's eyes lit up with satisfaction at the sight of Yu Qing. "Yu Qing," Wang Jian began, his voice filled with genuine gratitude. "Thank you for your swift action in setting up the Astral Vision Network. Your efficiency has been truly remarkable." Yu Qing waved off his thanks with a casual gesture, but inwardly, she couldn't help but feel a flutter of satisfaction at his words. The warmth of his touch sent a shiver down her spine, and she found herself unwilling to pull away. "It was nothing," she replied modestly, her gaze meeting his with a hint of bashfulness. I'm just glad I could be of assistance. As Wang Jian continued to hold her hand, Yu Qing felt a sense of contentment wash over her, basking in the comfort of his presence. Despite the gravity of their mission, she couldn't deny the thrill of being close to him, their connection stronger than ever before. But their moment of intimacy was soon interrupted by Wang Jian's next declaration. It's time to gather some information about the main branch of the Lin family, he announced, his tone resolute. Now, it's time to gather information about the main branch of the Lin family, he declared, his voice tinged with determination. Yu Qing's curiosity piqued at his words, her brow furrowing in contemplation. But how do you plan to do that? She asked, her tone laced with curiosity. With a knowing smile, Wang Jian revealed his plan. We'll contact one of Lin Xingya's maids, he explained, his voice brimming with confidence. I made a deal with her before parting ways with Lin Xingya. In exchange for a precious pellet to enhance her cultivation, she agreed to provide us with information when needed. Yu Qing nodded in understanding, impressed by Wang Jian's foresight. And she agreed to help us? She asked, a hint of skepticism in her voice. Wang Jian chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Of course, he replied, his tone laced with certainty. I assured her that our intentions were purely to protect Lin Xingya. She has nothing to fear from us. Yu Qing's eyes widened in realization, her admiration for Wang Jian growing with each passing moment. You've truly thought of everything, she remarked, her voice filled with admiration. Get your Avrite ovals at no/v/e/lbn.com. Wang Jian nodded in agreement, a hint of satisfaction playing at the corners of his lips. Indeed, he replied, his gaze flickering with determination. Now, let's not waste any more time. We have work to do. With a shared sense of purpose, Wang Jian and Yu Qing set their plan into motion. Wang Jian held the voice transmission stone in his hand, his brow furrowed in concentration. With a flick of his wrist, he activated the stone, its magic pulsing with energy as he reached out to the maid who held the key to their mission. As the connection established, the maid's voice echoed through the stone, carrying with it tidings of intrigue and revelation. With bated breath, Wang Jian listened intently as she divulged the latest developments within the Lin family's inner sanctum. Lin Xingya has successfully undergone the transformation with the Dao Sovereign Palette, the maid revealed, her voice tinged with awe. Her physique now bears the mark of the Dao Sovereign, and the elders and the patriarch are beside themselves with joy. Wang Jian's lips curled into a satisfied smirk as he absorbed the news. The success of their plan was unfolding before his very eyes, each detail falling into place with impeccable precision. And what of her engagement with Jiang Chen? Wang Jian inquired, his voice tinged with curiosity. The elders and the patriarch have already begun to consider canceling it, the maid replied, her tone tinged with excitement. An envoy will be dispatched to the Jiang family soon to convey their decision. Wang Jian nodded in approval, his mind already racing with the next phase of their strategy. Excellent, he murmured, his gaze narrowing in determination. Now, tell me of Lin Xingya's rivals within the family. Without hesitation, the maid listed off the names of the heirs who harbored ill will towards Lin Xingya, their enmity simmering beneath the surface like a dormant volcano waiting to erupt. Armed with this knowledge, Wang Jian wasted no time in setting his plan into motion. Making his way to a nearby painting shop, he enlisted the aid of a skilled artist to draw the portraits of each of direct heirs of the Lin family. With painstaking precision, the artist meticulously crafted their portraits, each stroke of the brush imbuing the canvas with a sense of foreboding. Once the portraits were complete, Wang Jian wasted no time in deploying the Astral Vision Network, the magical network of crystals illuminating the starry expanse with ethereal light. With a deft flick of his wrist, he summoned forth the images of Lin Xingya's adversaries, their faces flickering in and out of focus like ghosts in the night. In the vast expanse of the Lin family's domain, Wang Jian and Yu Qing soared through the celestial skies, their mission clear and their resolve unwavering. With a flick of her wrist, Yu Qing opened up a spatial rift, its shimmering tendrils unfurling like ribbons in the cosmic winds. Without hesitation, they plunged into the rift, hurtling through the spatial tunnel with unparalleled speed. As they emerged on the other side, they found themselves standing on the outskirts of a sprawling estate, the ancestral home of Lin Hong, one of Lin Xingya's rivals. With a silent nod, Wang Jian gestured for Yu Qing to make her move. With a graceful sweep of her hand, Yu Qing unleashed a torrent of divine energy, her movements fluid and precise as she dispatched Lin Hong's guards with deadly efficiency. Like leaves in a storm, the guards fell before her, their cries echoing through the night as they met their demise. With a swift strike, Yu Qing dealt the final blow to Lin Hong, his lifeblood staining the ground beneath him as he crumpled to the earth. Wang Jian watched with a sense of grim satisfaction, his gaze unwavering as he surveyed the scene before him. "On to the next one," he declared, his voice ringing with determination. Without a moment's hesitation, they set their sights on their next target, Lin Xia, another of Lin Xingya's rivals. With a sense of purpose, they made their way to her estate, their footsteps echoing through the silent night. As they approached the estate, they were met with a formidable force of guards, their weapons glinting in the moonlight as they prepared for battle. But against the might of Yu Qing, they stood little chance. With a fierce battle cry, Yu Qing unleashed a whirlwind of destruction, her movements a blur of motion as she cut through the ranks of Lin Xiao's guards with ruthless precision. Like wheat before the scythe, they fell before her, their bodies littering the ground in her wake. With a final strike, Yu Qing vanquished Lin Xia, her victory complete as she stood triumphant amidst the carnage. Wang Jian watched with a sense of quiet admiration, his gaze lingering on Yu Qing's form as she basked in the glow of her triumph. "Excellent work," Wang Jian praised, his voice filled with admiration. "Now, let's move on to the next phase of our plan." With their mission accomplished, Wang Jian and Yu Qing set their sights on their next destination, a settlement controlled by the branch family of the Lin family. The news rippled through the starry expanse like a shockwave, sending tremors of disbelief and unease cascading through the Lin family's territory. The sudden deaths of Lin Hong and Lin Xia, once promising heirs of the direct branch, had sent shockwaves reverberating through the Lin family's ranks, leaving the elders and patriarch grappling with the implications of these tragic events. In the hallowed halls of the Lin family's ancestral estate, the elders convened to discuss the unsettling developments. Their brows furrowed with concern as they mulled over the implications of the deaths of two such prominent figures within their ranks. "The security surrounding the direct heirs was formidable," remarked Elder Zhang, his voice laden with consternation. "To think that they could be struck down so swiftly, without even a chance to ask for aid, it defies belief." The other elders nodded in solemn agreement, their expressions grave as they contemplated the magnitude of the threat posed by their unknown assailant. "We must bolster our defenses," declared Patriarch Lin Ziki, his voice resolute. "And above all else, we must ensure the safety of Lin Xingya. She is our most precious asset, and we cannot afford to let any harm befall her." With a collective sense of urgency, the elders resolved to take swift action to safeguard Lin Xingya from any potential threats. They knew that the enemy lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike at the heart of their family's power, and they were determined to thwart their nefarious plans at every turn. After finishing the discussion upon this matter, the elders and the patriarch Lin Ziki began to discuss the next topic. The next topic was about Lin Xingya's marriage with Jiang Chen. The elders and even the patriarch had decided to break off this marriage. For this, they sent an envoy to the ancient Jiang family. The envoy went to the ancient Jiang family and informed them that the Lin family is going to cut off the marriage contract between Jiang Chen and Lin Xingya. Thus, in the hallowed halls of the ancient Jiang family's ancestral estate, a similar scene was unfolding. The news of the Lin family's decision to break off the marriage contract between Jiang Chen and Lin Xingya had sent shockwaves through the ancient family's ranks, leaving them reeling with disbelief and outrage. "The Lin family dares to defy us openly," exclaimed Elder Jiang Wei, his voice tinged with indignation. "They must think that they can cast aside our alliance without consequence. They are sorely mistaken." His words were met with murmurs of agreement from the other elders, their expressions darkening with anger at the perceived affront to their family's honor. "We cannot let this stand," declared Patriarch Jiang Yun, his voice resolute. "We must show the Lin family that they cannot trifle with the ancient Jiang family with impunity. We will not rest until justice is served." With a collective sense of determination, the elders of the ancient Jiang family resolved to take decisive action to defend their family's honor and uphold the sanctity of their alliance with the Lin family. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with peril, but they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay in their path with unwavering resolve. As tensions mounted between the two ancient families, the southern region of the upper realm buzzed with speculation and intrigue. Rumors swirled through the corridors of power, as nobles and cultivators alike whispered of impending conflict and political upheaval. In the hallowed halls of the southern godly palace, the divine monarch watched with keen interest as events unfolded, his eyes ablaze with anticipation. In the dimly lit tavern, the air was thick with the aroma of spiced ale and the murmurs of patrons engaged in lively conversation. Wang Jian and Yu Qing sat at a corner table, their heads bent together in quiet discussion as they pondered the unfolding events in the Lin family. Wang Jian furrowed his brow in thought, swirling the amber liquid in his tankard absently. "It doesn't make sense," he mused aloud. "Why would the Lin family break off Lin Xingya's engagement with Jiang Chen at a time like this?" Yu Qing, her gaze steady, leaned forward, her voice low with speculation. "Perhaps they've unleashed their final gambit," she suggested. "Awakening their ancestors from the mausoleum could be a sign that they're preparing to wield their full power in this era." Wang Jian's eyes widened with surprise at the notion. "Their ancestors?" he echoed, incredulous. "I hadn't considered that possibility." But even as he voiced his doubts, a flicker of concern crossed his features. If the Lin family had indeed awakened their powerful ancestors, it could signal a significant shift in the balance of power within the upper realm. Even if the Lin family has unleashed their ancestors, I doubt they will be able to connect the deaths of Lin Hong and Lin Xia to me, Wang Jian remarked, his tone tinged with confidence. And with heightened security around Lin Xingya, she should be well protected from any potential threats. With a sense of assurance, Wang Jian turned his attention to his next task, locating Lin Fei. Utilizing the Astral Vision Network, he scoured the vast expanse of the upper realm. It didn't take long for him to locate his target, the young man locked in a fierce battle against a horde of rampaging beasts. A sly grin tugged at the corners of Wang Jian's lips as he observed the unfolding spectacle. Yet, amidst the chaos of battle, Wang Jian's keen eye detected a glimmer of beauty, a figure traversing the rugged terrain with grace and determination together with a group of beauties. She emanated an aura of strength and resilience, her presence commanding respect and admiration from her teammates. Her name was Ji, the sole disciple of the sect mistress of the Heavenly Jade Pavilion, a formidable sect renowned for its powerful inheritances. As Wang Jian observed Shi's journey, a mischievous glint danced in his eyes. He knew that fate had woven an intricate tapestry, one in which Lin Fei was destined to play a pivotal role in Shi's quest to vanquish the fearsome flood dragon. However, Wang Jian had other plans. With a sly grin, he resolved to intervene and seize the opportunity to win Shi's favor for himself, thereby thwarting Lin Fei's destiny and securing her admiration and allegiance. Concealing his intentions behind a mask of charm and charisma, Wang Jian turned to Yu Qing, his voice laced with urgency. "It seems that I need to get to this star quickly," he declared, his gaze ablaze with determination. Yu Qing nodded in agreement, her eyes gleaming with determination as she prepared to execute Wang Jian's plan. With a flicker of divine energy, she opened a spatial tunnel, and together, they embarked on their journey to intercept Lin Fei and alter the course of fate. As they traversed the vast expanse of the upper realm, Wang Jian's mind buzzed with anticipation, his thoughts consumed by the prospect of winning Xishi's favor. As Wang Jian and Yu Qing traversed the earthly dragon star, the air crackled with latent energy, the faint scent of dragon's blood lingering in the atmosphere. Wang Jian couldn't help but marvel at the natural array that permeated the star, its power palpable even from a distance. Quite the impressive array, Wang Jian remarked, his eyes scanning their surroundings with keen interest. It seems the earthly dragon star holds many secrets within its depths. Yu Qing nodded in agreement, her gaze alight with curiosity as she surveyed the landscape. Indeed, she replied, her voice tinged with excitement. It's said that the dragon vein running through the star imbues it with unparalleled vitality and power. As they ventured deeper into the star, Wang Jian's mind buzzed with anticipation, his thoughts consumed by the prospect of acquiring the rare materials needed to enhance his cultivation. He knew that breaking through to the divine spirit realm would require considerable effort and resourcefulness, but he was determined to rise to the challenge. Suddenly, their journey was interrupted by a rustling in the nearby foliage, prompting Wang Jian to tense with anticipation. With a swift motion, he drew his sword, his senses on high alert as he scanned the area for any signs of danger. Yu Qing mirrored his actions, her hand poised over her own weapon as she prepared for battle. "What do you think it is?" she whispered, her voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. Wang Jian's gaze narrowed as he focused on the source of the disturbance, his senses honed to a razor-sharp edge. "It could be a beast," he replied, his voice low and cautious. "Or perhaps something, or someone, else." New chapters will be fully updated at novl/bin.com. As they waited in tense silence, the rustling grew louder, the sound drawing closer with each passing moment. Just then, a figure emerged from the underbrush, her features obscured by the dim light of the star. Wang Jian's heart skipped a beat as he recognized the familiar silhouette, a woman, clad in armor, her posture poised and regal. "It's Xi," Wang Jian whispered, his voice tinged with awe as he beheld the sect mistress's disciple. As Wang Jian and Yu Qing observed from their hiding spot, they witnessed a breathtaking spectacle unfolding before them. A group of beauties, led by Xi, engaged in a fierce battle against a horde of desolate beasts that had emerged from the depths of the earthly dragon star. The clash of swords and the crackle of elemental energy filled the air as the combatants fought with unmatched skill and ferocity. Despite the impressive display of martial prowess, Wang Jian and Yu Qing remained unmoved, their expressions betraying no hint of admiration or awe. In fact, as they watched Xi and her comrades in action, they couldn't help but feel underwhelmed by their fighting abilities. "They're certainly capable fighters," Wang Jian remarked, his voice low as he observed the battle unfolding before them. "But they lack refinement in their techniques. It's as if they're relying solely on brute force to overcome their opponents. Their understanding of their power, their elements, and their martial techniques is sorely lacking." Yu Qing nodded in agreement, her expression thoughtful as she watched the battle unfold. "Indeed," she replied, her tone tinged with a hint of skepticism. "Their approach seems rather crude, especially when compared to the martial arts of the upper echelons." Wang Jian cast a critical eye over Xi and her companions, noting the flaws in their technique and strategy. Though they fought with courage and determination, their movements lacked the fluidity and precision of true martial artists. "It seems they have yet to grasp the true nature of their power," Wang Jian mused, his brow furrowed in thought. "They may be formidable against these desolate beasts, but against more powerful adversaries, their lack of refinement could prove to be their downfall." As the battle raged on, Xi and her fellow disciples fought with unwavering determination, their movements fluid and precise as they dispatched one desolate beast after another. With each strike of their weapons and each burst of elemental energy, they drew closer to victory, their resolve unshakable in the face of overwhelming odds. Before long, the last of the desolate beasts lay slain at their feet, the battlefield strewn with the remnants of their vanquished foes. With a sense of triumph, Ji-shi and her companions regrouped, their attention turning to a foreboding cave that loomed in the distance. With a silent nod, Wang Jian and Yuqing followed suit, their footsteps silent as they trailed behind Ji-shi and her comrades, their presence masked by shadows and stealth. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the earthly dragon star, their senses were heightened, their anticipation mounting with each passing moment. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the star, Lin Fei's journey took a sudden and unexpected turn as he stumbled upon a hidden inheritance left behind by a cultivator of the divine spirit realm. Intrigued by the prospect of unlocking its secrets, Lin Fei wasted no time in delving into the treasure trove of resources and knowledge that lay before him. As he pored over the notes left behind by the enigmatic cultivator, Lin Fei's interest was piqued by a tantalizing piece of information, a massive skeleton of a powerful dragon hidden deep within the earthly dragon star. According to the notes, the skeleton held great power, waiting to be unearthed by those brave enough to venture into its lair. Discover stories on no/e/lbin.com. However, Lin Fei soon discovered that the path to the dragon skeleton was fraught with danger, as it was guarded by a formidable flood dragon at the peak of the divine spirit realm. Undeterred by the perilous challenge that lay ahead, Lin Fei resolved to face the dragon head-on. Lin Fei soared through the skies, his heart pounding with excitement as he neared the entrance to the cave where the flood dragon resided. With each passing moment, he grew more determined to claim the dragon's skeleton for himself, his mind filled with thoughts of the power and prestige it would bring him. As Lin Fei soared through the skies towards the cave of the flood dragon, Wang Jian and Yuqing sensed his approach, their keen senses alerting them to the presence of another cultivator nearby. Wang Jian's brows furrowed in curiosity as he observed Lin Fei's rapid approach. Why is he flying towards the flood dragon's cave with such haste? He mused, his tone tinged with curiosity. Yuqing cast a glance in Lin Fei's direction, her expression thoughtful. Perhaps he seeks the treasures hidden within the cave, she suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. Or maybe he's simply drawn to the challenge of facing the flood dragon. Wang Jian nodded in agreement, his gaze fixed on Lin Fei as he continued to fly towards the entrance of the cave. Whatever his reasons may be, we should remain cautious, he replied, his tone serious. With that, Wang Jian and Yuqing followed after Ji-shi and her companions, their movements swift and silent as they trailed behind the group. As they approached the entrance to the cave, Ji-shi and her comrades brandished their weapons, preparing themselves for the battle ahead. Wang Jian observed as they activated their dragon-slaying talismans, the shimmering energy enveloping their blades in a faint blue glow. It seems they've come prepared, Wang Jian remarked, his eyes narrowing slightly as he watched the group enter the cave. That dragon-slaying talisman will surely give them an advantage against the flood dragon. Yuqing nodded in agreement, her gaze fixed on the entrance to the cave. Indeed, she replied, her tone tinged with admiration. Crafting such a talisman requires great skill and knowledge of draconic energy. It's no wonder they're confident in their abilities. As Ji-shi and her companions ventured deeper into the cave, Wang Jian and Yuqing followed after them, their footsteps echoing softly against the stone floor. As they entered the heart of the cave, Ji-shi and her companions found themselves enveloped in a thick, suffocating darkness. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and stagnant water, the only sound the echoing drip of water from the cave walls. With cautious steps, they moved forward, their senses alert for any sign of danger. Suddenly, they felt a powerful draconic aura wash over them, sending a shiver down their spines as they realized the enormity of the creature that lay ahead. Suppressing their fear, Ji-shi and her companions pressed on, their eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. As they rounded a corner, they caught sight of the flood dragon, its massive form coiled around a small island in the center of a divine lake. On the island stood a shrine, its walls adorned with ancient carvings and symbols. At the center of the shrine stood a pillar of light, within which lay a treasure box of great value. This must be what we've been searching for, Ji-shi whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her pounding heart. The treasure box contains the blueprints for the ancient flying ship, as well as many other valuable artifacts. With a sense of determination, Ji-shi and her companions made their way towards the shrine, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous chamber. As they drew closer, they could feel the power emanating from the treasure box, its presence tantalizingly close. But just as they reached the shrine, a low rumble echoed through the cave, causing them to freeze in their tracks. Looking up, they saw the flood dragon stir from its slumber, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent as it beheld the intruders in its domain. With a roar that shook the very foundations of the cave, the flood dragon launched itself towards Ji-shi and her companions, its massive form hurtling through the air with deadly precision. "Prepare yourselves!" Ji-shi cried, her voice ringing out in the darkness as she readied her weapon for battle. "We must defend ourselves against the flood dragon's onslaught." As the dragon bore down on them, Ji-shi and her companions braced themselves for the coming fight, their hearts filled with determination as they prepared to face their greatest challenge yet. As the flood dragon descended upon them with a deafening roar, Ji-shi and her 7 comrades sprang into action, their weapons flashing in the dim light of the cave. With a wave of her hand, Ji-shi unleashed her martial elemental ability, Floral Torrent, sending a cascade of vines and flowers towards the oncoming beast. Beside her, her companions unleashed their own martial elemental abilities, each one as diverse and powerful as the next. Mei Ling, the eldest of the group, wielded the power of lightning, her strikes crackling with energy as she danced around the dragon's attacks. Li Hua, with her affinity for fire, sent waves of flames licking at the dragon's scales, causing it to roar in pain. As the battle raged on, it seemed as though Ji-shi and her companions had the upper hand. The flood dragon, caught off guard by their ferocity and skill, struggled to defend itself against their onslaught. With each strike, they chipped away at its defenses, slowly but surely driving it back. But just as victory seemed within their grasp, the flood dragon let out a deafening roar, its form beginning to shimmer and change before their eyes. With a sudden burst of power, it shed its skin, revealing itself to be not a flood dragon, but a horned dragon, far more powerful and deadly than they had anticipated. Ji-shi's heart sank as she realized their mistake, her expression turning ashen as she beheld the true form of their opponent. The horned dragon, sensing their fear, let out a triumphant roar, its eyes gleaming with malicious intent as it prepared to unleash its full power upon them. With a wave of its massive claws, the horned dragon struck out at Ji-shi's companions, its beastly water abilities sending torrents of water crashing down upon them. One by one, they fell before its onslaught, their bodies torn apart by the force of its attacks. As Ji-shi watched in horror, she knew that they were no match for the might of the horned dragon. Desperate to save her comrades, she unleashed her most powerful martial elemental abilities, calling upon the wood spirits to aid her in battle. But even as she fought with all her strength, she could feel the horned dragon's power overwhelming her, its beastly water abilities tearing through her defenses with ease. With a final, desperate cry, Ji-shi launched herself at the dragon, determined to protect her companions to the very end. But it was too late. With a swift strike of its claws, the horned dragon cut down her comrade. As the last of Ji-shi's comrades fell to the ground, she felt a wave of despair wash over her. She knew that her fate was sealed, that she would soon join her fallen companions in death. But just as she prepared to face her end, something incredible happened. A wave of life energy flooded the cave, washing over Ji-shi and her fallen comrades with its healing power. To her amazement, she felt her wounds closing, her strength returning to her battered body. Beside her, her fallen companions stirred, their eyes fluttering open as they rose to their feet once more. Ji-shi's heart swelled with gratitude as she looked around at her companions, amazed by the miraculous turn of events. But when she turned to thank their mysterious savior, she found herself speechless at the sight before her. Standing before them was an incredibly handsome man, his eyes burning with determination as he gazed upon the horned dragon with undisguised contempt. It was none other than Wang Jian, the man who had saved them all with his incredible power. As he stepped forward, his gaze locked on the horned dragon, she felt a surge of confidence fill her. She knew that with Wang Jian by their side, they stood a chance against this fearsome creature. "Back away," Wang Jian commanded, his voice ringing out with authority. "I will deal with this horned dragon." She nodded, her heart pounding with anticipation as she stepped back, giving Wang Jian room to face their enemy. The horned dragon, sensing the man's approach, let out a low growl of warning, its eyes narrowing in suspicion. As Wang Jian locked eyes with the horned dragon, a wave of fear swept over the creature, causing it to shrink back in terror. Its massive form trembled with uncertainty as it beheld the sheer power and dominance that radiated from the man before it. For the first time in its existence, the horned dragon felt true fear coursing through its veins, a primal instinct that told it to flee or face certain death. But even as it tried to retreat, it found itself rooted to the spot, unable to tear its gaze away from the hypnotic gaze of the man who stood before it. Unbeknownst to Shi, the reason for the horned dragon's fear lay in the draconic bloodline that coursed through Wang Jian's veins. Unlike the creature before him, whose bloodline paled in comparison to his own, Wang Jian was descended from ancient dragons of unparalleled power and might. With a single glance, Wang Jian had asserted his dominance over the horned dragon, reducing it to a trembling wreck before him. She could hardly believe her eyes as she watched the horned dragon cower before this mysterious newcomer. What power did he possess to inspire such fear in a creature as mighty as a dragon? As the man drew closer, she could sense the aura of power that surrounded him, a palpable force that seemed to emanate from every pore of his being. There was something primal and untamed about him, something that set him apart from any other human she had ever encountered. With a swift motion, the man drew a sword from his side, its blade gleaming in the dim light of the cave. With a single strike, he lunged forward, his movements fluid and precise as he aimed for the horned dragon's heart. The dragon, sensing the danger, let out a deafening roar, its massive jaws snapping shut in an attempt to ward off the attack. But the man was too quick, his sword slicing through the air with deadly accuracy as it found its mark. With a final, agonized cry, the horned dragon fell to the ground, its massive form crumbling to dust before their eyes. As the echoes of battle faded away, she found herself standing in stunned silence, her heart pounding in her chest. Turning towards the man who had saved them, she felt a surge of gratitude wash over her. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You saved our lives." The man simply nodded, his expression unreadable as he sheathed his sword and turned to leave. But before he could go, she called out to him, her curiosity getting the better of her. "Wait," she said, her voice echoing in the silence of the cave. "Who are you? And why did you help us?" The man paused for a moment, as if considering her question. Then, with a faint smile, he spoke. "My name is Wang Jian," he said, his voice low and melodious. "And as for why I helped you, let's just say that I don't like to see beauties die in front of me." As Shi's comrades gathered around Wang Jian, their expressions were filled with gratitude and admiration. Each of them, with their unique beauty and charm, expressed their heartfelt thanks to the mysterious man who had saved them from certain death. Shi, the leader of the group, stepped forward, her eyes shining with appreciation. "We are truly grateful for your help," she said. "If there is anything we can do to repay you, please let us know." Wang Jian considered her offer for a moment before shaking his head. "There's no need for repayment," he said. "I'm just glad I could be of assistance." She nodded, her expression filled with respect. "Well, if you ever find yourself in need of anything, don't hesitate to ask," she said. With that, she and her comrades bid farewell to Wang Jian and made their way out of the cave, the treasure box they had come for clutched tightly in their hands. Cover dated novels on NOV/E/Lbin.co. Once they were gone, Yu Qing appeared before Wang Jian, her expression unreadable. Wang Jian turned to her with a curious look, silently questioning her about Lin Fei's whereabouts. Yu Qing explained that Lin Fei had indeed entered the cave earlier, just as Wang Jian had anticipated. However, she had taken it upon herself to ensure that he did not interfere with their plans. Using her cultivation prowess, she had created an illusionary dimension and trapped Lin Fei inside it. "He won't be causing us any trouble," Yu Qing said, her tone confident. "He'll remain in that illusionary dimension until he fulfills the condition to get out." Wang Jian smiled at her words, a sense of satisfaction washing over him. With Lin Fei out of the way, nothing stood in their path to uncovering the secrets hidden within the depths of the cave. "Good work, Yu Qing," Wang Jian said, his voice filled with approval. "Now, let's see what this cave has to offer." Wang Jian couldn't help but smirk at Yu Qing's cleverness. "Well done," he praised her. "That should keep him occupied for a while." Yu Qing nodded, a satisfied smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Thank you," she replied. "I'm glad I could be of assistance." With Lin Fei temporarily out of the picture, Wang Jian turned his attention back to the task at hand. Wang Jian focused his senses on the cave around them, searching for any sign of the passage that would lead him to the source of the draconic qi he had sensed earlier. After a few moments of concentration, Wang Jian's keen eyes caught sight of a faint shimmer in the darkness, indicating the presence of a hidden passage. Motioning for Yu Qing to follow him, Wang Jian made his way towards the passage, his heart pounding with anticipation. He could sense that they were drawing closer to their goal, and he was eager to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the depths of the cave. As they ventured deeper into the darkness, the air grew thick with the scent of earth and stone, the sound of their footsteps echoing off the walls in a steady rhythm. Suddenly, they came upon a narrow corridor, its walls lined with ancient runes and symbols. Wang Jian's eyes widened in fascination as he studied the intricate designs, his mind racing with possibilities. "These runes," he murmured, trailing off as he deciphered their meaning. "They seem to be a form of protection, guarding something of great importance." Yu Qing nodded in agreement, her gaze sweeping over the runes with interest. "Whatever it is, it must be incredibly valuable," she remarked, her voice tinged with excitement. With renewed determination, Wang Jian pressed forward, his senses on high alert as they continued their journey through the depths of the cave. After what felt like hours of winding corridors and hidden passageways, they finally emerged into a vast chamber, its walls adorned with glittering jewels and precious gems. But it was not the riches that caught Wang Jian's attention, but rather the towering figure that stood at the center of the chamber, a massive dragon, its scales shimmering with an otherworldly light. Wang Jian's breath caught in his throat as he beheld the majestic creature before him, his heart racing with awe and wonder. He had never seen anything like it in all his years of travel and adventure. "It's beautiful," Yu Qing breathed, her eyes wide with wonder as she gazed upon the dragon in awe. Wang Jian nodded in agreement, his mind reeling with the possibilities that lay before him. If he could harness the power of this dragon, there was no telling what he could accomplish. But as he stepped forward to approach the dragon, a sudden sense of foreboding washed over him, causing him to hesitate. There was something about this creature that seemed off. Before he could ponder the matter further, a voice echoed through the chamber, causing him to freeze in his tracks. "Who dares to disturb my slumber?" the voice boomed, its tone filled with fury and menace. Wang Jian's heart skipped a beat as he turned to face the source of the voice, his eyes widening in shock as he beheld the dragon's true form, a fearsome beast with gleaming horns and razor-sharp claws. Realizing that they were in grave danger, Wang Jian quickly sprang into action, his mind racing with thoughts of escape. But as he turned to flee, he felt a powerful force grip him, holding him in place with an iron grip. The eerie silence of the cavern was shattered by the intense clash of wills as Wang Jian and Yu Qing faced off against the draconic will. The air crackled with tension as the powerful force sought to overwhelm their minds and crush their spirits. Wang Jian gritted his teeth, his mind ablaze with determination as he resisted the relentless assault. With every fiber of his being, he pushed back against the oppressive presence, refusing to yield to its overwhelming power. CHCK for US Tirais on no/v/l/bin.c0m. This draconic will, won't, defeat me, Wang Jian growled through clenched teeth, his voice strained with effort. Beside him, Yu Qing's eyes blazed with fury as she unleashed her divine Ascension realm cultivation prowess, her aura pulsating with raw energy. With a swift motion, she summoned forth a barrage of celestial energy, launching it towards the draconic skeleton with fierce determination. But even as their combined efforts began to take their toll on the draconic will, the ancient force showed no signs of backing down. With a roar of defiance, it surged forward, its spectral form enveloping the cavern in a suffocating aura of malevolence. As the battle raged on, Wang Jian's mind raced with thoughts of strategy and tactics. He knew that they needed to find a way to overcome the draconic will's relentless assault, or risk being overwhelmed by its sheer power. Suddenly, a spark of inspiration ignited within Wang Jian's mind as he recalled the knowledge he had gained from his fusion with the planet. Drawing upon the laws of creation, preservation, and destruction, he channeled his energy into a powerful counterattack, unleashing a torrent of cosmic force against the draconic will. The impact was immediate and devastating, as the draconic will recoiled from the onslaught, its spectral form wavering under the onslaught of Wang Jian's newfound power. "Take that, you overgrown lizard!" Wang Jian shouted triumphantly, his voice ringing out through the cavern. But even as the draconic will faltered, Yu Qing sensed a shift in the air, a ripple of energy that hinted at danger on the horizon. "Be careful, Jian," she warned, her eyes narrowing as she prepared for the next onslaught. Sure enough, before they could react, the draconic will rallied its forces, summoning forth the full might of the draconic skeleton to do battle against them. "Who are the two of you?" the eerie voice of the draconic will echoed through the chamber. "You do not fit the description of the one destined to find me." Wang Jian exchanged a puzzled glance with Yu Qing before shrugging. "Well, sorry to disappoint, but we're just a couple of curious travelers," he replied with a smirk. Yu Qing nodded in agreement. "That's right. We stumbled upon this place by accident," she added, her eyes narrowing as she prepared for battle. But before they could say anything else, the draconic will made its intentions clear. "Any obstructions to the true destiny must be removed," it declared ominously. With a deafening roar, the draconic skeleton surged forward, its massive form casting a menacing shadow across the cavern walls. As the air crackled with tension, Yu Qing and the draconic skeleton faced off in the dimly lit cave, their powers clashing in a battle for supremacy. Wang Jian watched from the sidelines, his heart pounding with both fear and excitement. "Stay back, Jian!" Yu Qing shouted, her voice firm as she launched herself into the fray. "This is too dangerous for you." Wang Jian nodded, his eyes wide with awe as he witnessed Yu Qing's incredible prowess. "Be careful, Qing," he called out, his voice tinged with concern. The draconic skeleton, its skeletal form shimmering with otherworldly energy, regarded Yu Qing with cold, unblinking eyes. "You dare to challenge me, mortal?" it growled, its voice echoing through the cavern. Yu Qing gritted her teeth, her determination shining through. "I won't let you harm Jian," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. With a fierce battle cry, Yu Qing unleashed a barrage of attacks on the draconic skeleton, her movements fluid and precise. She summoned gusts of wind and torrents of water, directing them at her foe with deadly accuracy. The draconic skeleton retaliated with equal force, its claws slashing through the air with terrifying speed. It conjured bolts of lightning and waves of fire, aiming to overwhelm Yu Qing with sheer brute strength. The two opponents clashed again and again, their powers colliding in a dazzling display of light and energy. With each strike, the draconic skeleton grew stronger, fueled by the natural draconic arrays that surrounded them. But Yu Qing refused to back down. She fought with all her might, her movements graceful yet powerful as she danced around her opponent's attacks. She knew that she had to protect Wang Jian at all costs, and she wouldn't let anything stand in her way. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the draconic skeleton was gaining the upper hand. Its attacks grew more ferocious, its movements more fluid as it pressed its advantage against Yu Qing. Wang Jian watched in horror as Yu Qing was pushed back, her defenses crumbling under the relentless assault of the draconic skeleton. He wanted nothing more than to rush to her aid, but he knew that he would only be a liability in his current state. As Yu Qing found herself locked in a fierce battle against the draconic skeleton, desperation gnawed at her insides. She knew that if she didn't act fast, she would meet her end in this dark, cavernous lair. Gritting her teeth, Yu Qing weighed her options. She knew that unleashing the power of her Scarlet Star Slaughter Goddess was risky, the consequences could be dire. But with her life on the line, she saw no other choice. "Qing, are you all right?" Wang Jian's voice cut through the chaos, his eyes wide with concern as he watched her struggle against their formidable foe. Yu Qing flashed him a brief smile, masking her inner turmoil. "I'm fine," she replied, her voice steady despite the fear that churned in her gut. "Just need to try something a little unconventional." Wang Jian furrowed his brow, but before he could voice his concern, Yu Qing made her decision. With a deep breath, Yu Qing closed her eyes and focused her energy, calling upon the ancient power of the Scarlet Star Slaughter Goddess that lay dormant within her. As she unleashed the divine energy, a brilliant aura surrounded her, illuminating the cavern with its fiery glow. The air crackled with electricity as the power of the Scarlet Star Slaughter Goddess surged through Yu Qing's veins. With a cry of defiance, Yu Qing launched herself at the dragon skeleton, her movements fueled by the raw power coursing through her. The dragon skeleton roared in fury as it sensed the change in Yu Qing's energy, its skeletal form trembling with rage and fear. But just as the energy of her attack reached its peak, Yu Qing hesitated. The implications of her actions weighed heavily on her mind, threatening to overwhelm her resolve. "Qing, what are you doing?" Wang Jian's voice cut through the silence, his eyes wide with alarm as he watched her falter. I have to do this," Yu Qing replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's the only way to defeat this thing." Wang Jian reached out to her, his hand brushing against hers in a silent gesture of support. "I trust you," he said, his voice filled with conviction. "Whatever you decide, I'll stand by your side." Encouraged by his words, Yu Qing steeled herself for what was to come. With a single, decisive strike, Yu Qing unleashed the full force of her power, sending a shockwave of energy rippling through the cavern. The force of the blast was deafening, shaking the very foundations of the cave as it engulfed the dragon skeleton in its fiery embrace. For a moment, everything was bathed in blinding light, and then, as suddenly as it had begun, the explosion subsided, leaving behind nothing but smoke and dust. As the dust settled, Yu Qing and Wang Jian looked around in astonishment, scarcely able to believe what they saw. The dragon skeleton lay in a smoldering heap on the cavern floor. Yu Qing's chest heaved with exertion as she struggled to catch her breath. Wang Jian grinned, his eyes shining with pride as he reached out to clasp Yu Qing's hand. "You were amazing, Qing," he said, his voice filled with admiration. Yu Qing smiled upon hearing those words. But then her face quickly turned serious as she spoke. "I need to leave now, Jian. The longer I remain here, the more the chances that the star gods will appear here. I have about an hour before they can enter the eastern region." "All right." Wang Jian nodded. However, he then boldly stepped forward and pressed his lips against Yu Qing's. Yu Qing's eyes widened, but she didn't resist this kiss. She found a pleasant sensation overflowing in her entire body. Sequel. As the kiss between Wang Jian and Yu Qing came to an end, a charged silence hung in the air, broken only by the sound of their ragged breaths. Wang Jian gazed into Yu Qing's eyes, his heart pounding in his chest. I couldn't let you go without saying goodbye, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Yu Qing's cheeks flushed crimson as she met his gaze, 1,000 emotions swirling in her mind. Thank you, Jian, she murmured, her voice soft and filled with gratitude. With a final, lingering glance, Yu Qing turned and fled from the cavern, her movements swift and graceful as she disappeared into the darkness. Left alone in the aftermath of their battle, Wang Jian wasted no time in securing the dragon skeleton within his minor world. With a wave of his hand, he summoned forth flames that engulfed the cavern, reducing it to ash in a matter of moments. With his task complete, Wang Jian took to the skies, his heart heavy with the weight of their parting. But even as he soared through the air, his thoughts remained with Yu Qing, her presence lingering like a whisper on the wind. Meanwhile, as Lin Fei emerged from the spatial illusion that had trapped him, he found himself surrounded by flames that raged with an intensity he had never witnessed before. Panic surged through him as he realized the gravity of his situation. With no time to waste, Lin Fei sprinted through the cavern, his heart pounding in his chest as he fought to escape the inferno that threatened to consume him. As he burst from the mouth of the cave, he was greeted by the cool night air, a welcome relief after the suffocating heat of the flames. Gasping for breath, he collapsed onto the ground, his limbs trembling with exhaustion. As Wang Jian soared through the night sky, his mind buzzed with thoughts and possibilities. The encounter with Yu Qing had left him feeling unsettled, a nagging sense of urgency gnawing at his insides. Deep down, he knew that Yu Qing's fate was intertwined with that of Lin Fei, the enigmatic protagonist whose every move seemed to ripple through the fabric of destiny. With a heavy heart, Wang Jian realized that he could no longer afford to delay his confrontation with Lin Fei. The longer he waited, the greater the risk to Yu Qing and himself. Discover WStories on no/e/lbin.com. With a determined set to his jaw, Wang Jian made the decision to return to the stars owned by the Lin family. He knew that he needed to gather more information about the situation unfolding there and devise a plan to confront Lin Fei. Upon his arrival, Wang Jian wasted no time in seeking out the locals in the settlement. Through careful questioning and subtle manipulation, he managed to glean valuable information about the current whereabouts and activities of Lin Xingya. It wasn't long before Wang Jian learned that Lin Xingya was undergoing rigorous training under the guidance of one of the ancient ancestors of the Lin family who had recently awakened from the clan mausoleum. This revelation sent a chill down Wang Jian's spine as he realized the gravity of the situation. If Lin Xingya is being trained by one of the ancient ancestors, then her power and influence within the Lin family will only continue to grow, Wang Jian mused, his mind racing with possibilities. This revelation pleased Wang Jian, knowing that it would bolster Lin Xingya's strength and abilities. However, his attention soon shifted when he heard whispers of the upcoming Ascending Dragon tournament, organized by the prestigious Nangong ancient family. The tournament was open to all young talents under the age of 30, promising enticing rewards to those who emerged victorious. Upon learning of the age limit, Wang Jian contemplated using the laws of life to manipulate his age, ensuring that he appeared below 30 years old to avoid detection. After all, the allure of the tournament's rewards was too tempting to pass up, and Wang Jian knew that competitors from all corners of the eastern region would converge for a chance at glory. With a determined gleam in his eye, Wang Jian set his sights on the Ascending Dragon tournament, ready to test his mettle against the best and brightest of the younger generation. With his plan set in motion, Wang Jian wasted no time in setting out for the stars owned by the Nangong family. Though somewhat distant from the Lin family's domain, he knew that the teleportation formations within the Lin family's settlements would expedite his journey. Arriving at the teleportation formation, Wang Jian activated it discreetly, disappearing in a flicker of light before reappearing in the settlement on the star of the Nangong family. As he stepped onto Nangong territory, Wang Jian felt a surge of anticipation coursing through him. The Nangong family, known for their formidable influence and ancient lineage, presented both opportunities and challenges. Determined to navigate the unfamiliar territory undetected, Wang Jian drew upon his mastery of the laws of shadow and darkness, shrouding himself in an impenetrable veil of concealment. With each step, he moved with the stealth and precision of a phantom, slipping past guards and wards alike as he infiltrated the heart of the Nangong family's domain. In the shadows, Wang Jian observed the bustling activity of the Nangong settlement, taking note of the intricacies of their daily routines and security measures. His keen eyes scanned the surroundings, searching for any vulnerabilities or hidden passages that could aid him in his quest. As Wang Jian continued to move through the Nangong family's domain, he soon came across the residences of the family's inheritors. Observing from the shadows, he noted the graceful and precise sword techniques being practiced by the male members of the family. Their movements were fluid yet lethal, a testament to their rigorous training regimen. Seems like the Nangong family values elegance and precision in their martial arts, Wang Jian thought to himself as he watched the training session unfold. Continuing on his reconnaissance mission, Wang Jian soon found himself overlooking the construction site of the arena where the Ascending Dragon tournament would be held. The sight before him was a testament to the meticulous planning and formidable resources of the Nangong family. The stage of the arena, crafted from dense and powerful materials, stood as a testament to the family's commitment to ensuring the safety and integrity of the tournament. Wang Jian observed as multiple arrays were drawn around the perimeter of the stage, creating a barrier to contain the battles within and protect the spectators outside. Impressive array work, Wang Jian mused silently, his eyes scanning the intricate patterns etched into the ground. But what are those additional arrays for? As he continued to observe, Wang Jian noticed 2 more arrays being added, this time encompassing the entire Colosseum. One of these arrays, he deduced, was a dark qi infusion array, designed to subtly imbue individuals with small amounts of dark qi at regular intervals. The accumulation of dark qi over time would eventually suppress the natural spiritual and divine energy of those within its influence. A clever tactic, Wang Jian thought, his mind buzzing with curiosity. But why go to such lengths? What do they hope to achieve with this dark qi infusion? With a silent chuckle, Wang Jian decided to bide his time and observe from the shadows. There was more to this tournament than met the eye. As the days passed and the excitement surrounding the Ascending Dragon tournament continued to build, the Nangong family's estate buzzed with activity. Inheritors and guests from various ancient families arrived, each greeted with the utmost hospitality and provided luxurious residences situated near powerful spiritual veins. Wang Jian, blending seamlessly into the bustling crowd, observed the influx of visitors with keen interest. He watched as the guests marveled at their opulent accommodations, their eyes widening in awe at the grandeur of the Nangong family's hospitality. Quite the spectacle, Wang Jian thought to himself, a wry smile playing on his lips as he observed the reactions of the common folk to their lavish surroundings. But amidst all this extravagance, I wonder who will prove to be the true contenders. As the days turned into weeks, Wang Jian patiently waited for the right moment to make his move. He knew that amidst the sea of faces, there were certain individuals whose destinies were intertwined with his own, and he was determined to seek them out. Then, on the dawn of the tournament's commencement, the first familiar face appeared. It belonged to the wondrous and seductive beauty, Shui Shuiying of the esteemed Shui family. Wang Jian's eyes sparkled with anticipation as he watched Shui Shuiying's arrival, his mind already calculating the potential outcomes of their encounter. Ah, Shui Shuiying, he mused silently, his gaze following her graceful movements. Let's see what fate has in store for us this time. With that, Wang Jian went to his residence in the settlement. Wang Jian moved through the bustling streets of the Nangong family's estate with practiced ease, his steps light and purposeful. His destination, the tea house where Shui Shuiying and her guards were enjoying their afternoon respite. As he navigated the labyrinthine pathways of the inner settlement, Wang Jian couldn't help but marvel at the stark contrast between his surroundings and those of the opulent residences where the elite families resided. The air here seemed charged with anticipation, the buzz of excitement palpable even amidst the tranquil beauty of the surroundings. Quite the lavish accommodations they have, Wang Jian thought wryly, his gaze sweeping over the elegant architecture and meticulously manicured gardens that adorned the inner enclave. But luxury alone won't secure victory in the tournament. With a flicker of determination in his eyes, Wang Jian pressed on, his senses attuned to the subtle fluctuations of energy that permeated the atmosphere. He knew that amidst the sea of faces, Shui Shuiying's presence would shine like a beacon, her aura unmistakable to one as attuned to the intricacies of energy as he was. Soon, Wang Jian spotted the tea house where Shui Shuiying and her guards were seated, the gentle clink of porcelain mingling with the soft murmur of conversation. As he approached, he couldn't help but notice the way Shui Shuiying's eyes widened in surprise at the sight of him. Well, Wang Jian thought with a hint of amusement, his lips quirking into a faint smile as he met Shui Shuiying's gaze. Seems I've caught her off guard. Meanwhile, Shui Shuiying's heart fluttered nervously in her chest as she watched Wang Jian's approach. Memories of their previous encounter flashed through her mind, her gratitude for his assistance mingling with a newfound sense of anticipation. Wang Jian, she thought, her cheeks flushing slightly as their eyes met. I didn't expect to see him here, alone. As Wang Jian reached the tea house, he offered Shui Shuiying a casual nod of greeting, his gaze warm and inviting. Fancy meeting you here, Shui Shuiying, he remarked, his voice laced with playful amusement. Mind if I join you? Shui Shuiying's guards tensed slightly at Wang Jian's approach, their hands drifting instinctively to the hilts of their swords. But Shui Shuiying waved them off with a reassuring smile, her gaze fixed on Wang Jian. Not at all, she replied, her tone polite yet tinged with curiosity. Please, have a seat. With a graceful gesture, she indicated the empty chair beside her, a flush of color rising to her cheeks as she caught Wang Jian's gaze once more. There was something undeniably magnetic about his presence, something that set her heart aflutter in a way she couldn't quite explain. As Wang Jian settled into the chair opposite her, Shui Shuiying couldn't help but steal glances at him, her curiosity piqued by his unexpected appearance. Wang Jian, she greeted him, her voice tinged with a hint of curiosity. What a pleasant surprise to see you here. Wang Jian's smile widened at her words, his gaze lingering on her face for a moment longer before he spoke. Likewise, Shui Shuiying, he replied, his voice smooth and melodious. I couldn't resist the temptation to catch up with an old acquaintance. Shui Shuiying nodded, her gaze meeting his as she pondered his presence in the tea house. I must admit, I didn't expect to see you here, she admitted, a note of curiosity lacing her words. What brings you to this settlement? Wang Jian chuckled softly, a playful glint dancing in his eyes. Oh, you know me, he replied casually, his tone light and airy. I'm always drawn to places where the action is. And what better place to find excitement than at the Ascending Dragon tournament? Shui Shuiying nodded, her gaze meeting his as she pondered his presence in the tea house. I must admit, I didn't expect to see you here, she admitted, a note of curiosity lacing her words. What brings you to this settlement? Shui Shuiying laughed, the sound tinkling like bells as she leaned back in her chair. Indeed, she agreed, her eyes sparkling with amusement. It seems we have similar interests. Wang Jian nodded, his gaze lingering on her face as he spoke. Speaking of this, I couldn't help but wonder if you might be interested in exploring the tournament together, he suggested, his tone laced with subtle invitation. Shui Shuiying's heart fluttered at the suggestion, her cheeks flushing with a delicate pink hue. I would be delighted, she replied, her voice tinged with excitement. It would be wonderful to have your company. As their conversation continued, Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying found themselves lost in each other's company, their laughter blending seamlessly with the lively ambience of the tea house. As the inheritors of the other influential families stormed into the tea house, their expressions a mix of shock and anger, Wang Jian couldn't help but find the situation rather amusing. From the way they glared at him, it was clear that they didn't appreciate his presence at Shuiying's table. "Well, this is unexpected," he mused silently, his lips quirking into a sly smile. "Seems like I've inadvertently become the center of attention." As the heirs of the other influential families approached the table where Wang Jian and Shuiying sat, their expressions ranged from shock to indignation. They couldn't believe their eyes at the sight of an unfamiliar man engaged in conversation with Shuiying, their prized jewel. With narrowed eyes and stiff postures, they approached the table, their intent clear in their demeanor. These were men accustomed to getting what they wanted, and the idea of another man encroaching on what they considered their territory didn't sit well with them. "Excuse me," one of them began, his voice tinged with thinly veiled hostility. "I couldn't help but notice that you're keeping rather close company with our esteemed Shuiying. Might I inquire as to your identity?" But before he could speak up to address their inquiries, Shuiying intervened, her voice dripping with cold disdain as she dismissed them with a flick of her hand. "Excuse me, gentlemen," she said, her tone icy. "But I fail to see how my conversation with Wang Jian concerns any of you. He is an old acquaintance of mine, and I would appreciate it if you didn't trouble him." Wang Jian suppressed a chuckle at Shuiying's audacity, his eyes twinkling with amusement as he observed the scene unfolding before him. It was clear that Shuiying had no qualms about putting these young masters in their place, a fact that only served to pique his interest further. The heirs exchanged incredulous looks, their disbelief palpable as they struggled to comprehend Shuiying's casual dismissal of their presence. Who was this mysterious man who dared to claim acquaintance with their beloved Shuiying? And why was she defending him with such fervor? Gritting their teeth in frustration, the heirs begrudgingly backed down, unwilling to escalate the confrontation any further in the presence of so many witnesses. But their resentment simmered beneath the surface, fueling their determination to uncover the truth behind Shuiying's unexpected companion. As the tension dissipated, Shuiying turned her attention back to Wang Jian, her expression softening slightly as she met his gaze. "I apologize for the interruption," she said, her voice tinged with apology. "As I was saying..." Wang Jian waved off her apology with a charming smile, his eyes alight with amusement. "No need to apologize," he replied smoothly, his tone laced with reassurance. "It's not every day I get to witness such a dramatic display." Shuiying chuckled softly, her laughter tinkling like wind chimes as she leaned in closer to Wang Jian. "Indeed," she agreed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "It seems we've attracted quite the audience." As their conversation continued, Wang Jian and Shuiying found themselves immersed in a whirlwind of laughter and banter, their shared camaraderie deepening with each passing moment. The two then finished their tea and began to stroll through the inner region of the settlement. Shuiying and Wang Jian engaged in light-hearted conversation, their laughter echoing through the tranquil surroundings. The guards trailed behind them discreetly, their vigilant gaze scanning their surroundings for any potential threats. Wang Jian's suggestion of a spar elicited a thoughtful expression from Shuiying, who considered the proposition for a moment before nodding in agreement. "I think that sounds like a wonderful idea," she replied with a smile, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. As they entered the private field, Shuiying and Wang Jian found themselves surrounded by a tranquil landscape of lush greenery and serene beauty. The air hummed with the faint echo of spiritual energy, infusing the atmosphere with a sense of vitality and power. Wang Jian glanced around, taking in the breathtaking scenery with a sense of awe. "This place is truly remarkable," he remarked, his voice filled with genuine admiration. Shuiying smiled, her eyes sparkling with pride. "It's one of the perks of being part of an ancient family," she replied, her tone tinged with satisfaction. "We have access to resources that most people can only dream of." Wang Jian nodded appreciatively, his curiosity piqued by the boundless potential of the private field. "I can see why you would want to train here," he remarked, his gaze lingering on Shuiying's graceful form. It's the perfect environment for cultivating one's skills. Shui Shuiying smiled at his observation, her cheeks tinged with a faint blush. Indeed, she agreed, her voice softening with affection. But enough talk. Let's see what you're made of, shall we? With a playful glint in her eye, Shui Shuiying assumed a defensive stance, her body poised for action. Wang Jian mirrored her movements, his expression focused and determined as he prepared to engage in combat. The lush greenery of the surroundings provided the perfect backdrop for their impending spar, while the gentle breeze whispered secrets of the impending clash. Wang Jian drew his sword with a fluid motion, the blade gleaming in the sunlight as he assumed a defensive stance. Shui Shuiying mirrored his movements, her own sword poised and ready as she focused her energy for the battle ahead. 5DDEU up TS on NOV/E/LN.com. With a nod of mutual understanding, they began their dance of steel, their swords clashing with a resounding clang that echoed throughout the field. Wang Jian unleashed the first strike, his sword whistling through the air as he executed the shadow slash technique, a swift and deceptive maneuver designed to catch his opponent off guard. Shui Shuiying countered with the Azure Frost dance, a series of graceful slashes infused with the chilling power of her divine ice energy. Her movements were fluid and precise, each strike aimed with deadly accuracy. Wang Jian parried her attacks with ease, his movements fluid and calculated as he danced around her with the grace of a seasoned warrior. With a flick of his wrist, he unleashed the Phantom Thrust, a lightning-fast strike that threatened to breach Shui Shuiying's defenses. But she was ready, her reflexes honed to perfection as she countered with the Crimson Blossom Strike, a fierce assault fueled by the fiery power of her divine fire energy. The clash of their swords sent sparks flying, illuminating the field with bursts of light and color. As they continued to exchange blows, it became clear that neither combatant was holding back. Each strike was delivered with precision and intent, their swords weaving a deadly dance of death and destruction. Wang Jian's eyes gleamed with excitement as he pushed himself to the limit, determined to test Shui Shuiying's skills to their fullest. He unleashed a flurry of strikes, each one faster and more ferocious than the last, but she met his onslaught with unwavering resolve. Shui Shuiying's heart raced with adrenaline as she matched Wang Jian blow for blow, her senses heightened by the thrill of battle. She knew that she was facing a formidable opponent, but she refused to back down. With a final burst of energy, Wang Jian unleashed his ultimate technique, the Void Shatter, a devastating strike infused with the raw power of his divine darkness energy. The force of the blow sent shockwaves rippling through the air, threatening to shatter everything in its path. But Shui Shuiying refused to be defeated. With a defiant roar, she unleashed her own ultimate technique, the Celestial Torrent, a torrential wave of energy that surged forth with the force of a raging tempest. The clash of their powers created a cataclysmic explosion that rocked the field, sending shockwaves rippling through the air. As the dust settled, Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying stood facing each other, their swords still drawn as they caught their breath. Despite the intensity of their battle, there was a mutual respect between them, a recognition of each other's strength and determination. With a nod of acknowledgement, they sheathed their swords and exchanged a knowing glance. As the spar concluded, both Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying approached each other, their breaths still heavy from the exhilarating battle. Wang Jian grinned, his eyes shining with admiration as he praised Shui Shuiying's formidable skills. "Your power and techniques are truly exquisite, Shui Shuiying. I must admit, you're a force to be reckoned with." Shui Shuiying's cheeks flushed with pride at the compliment. "Thank you, Wang Jian," she replied with a grateful smile. "But I must say, your speed and swordsmanship are equally impressive. You're a true master of the blade." Wang Jian accepted her praise graciously, his smile widening. "I held back a few tricks during our spar," he admitted, his eyes twinkling mischievously. "But I'll reveal them to you when we face each other in the tournament for real." Shui Shuiying's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I look forward to it," she exclaimed eagerly. I held back my true power too, so you better be ready. As they spoke, the scent of their sweat lingered in the air, adding to the charged atmosphere of the moment. Suddenly, Wang Jian's gaze turned distant as he found himself captivated by Shui Shuiying's alluring figure, her clothes clinging to her body with sweat. Unable to resist, he found himself complimenting her beauty. You look absolutely beautiful right now, Shui Shuiying, he spoke softly, his voice tinged with adoration. Shui Shuiying's cheeks flushed a deeper shade of red at the unexpected compliment. Thank you, she stammered, feeling a flutter of excitement in her chest. You're not so bad yourself, she added with a playful grin. Their eyes met in a moment of shared understanding, a silent acknowledgement of the mutual attraction that simmered between them. As they made their way back to the settlement, Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying walked side by side, their steps in sync as they conversed. Wang Jian purposely edged closer to Shui Shuiying, their arms almost brushing against each other. He couldn't help but feel a flutter of excitement at the proximity. Shui Shuiying noticed the subtle closeness but didn't pull away. Instead, she let herself enjoy the warmth of their shared space, relishing in the connection between them. Before they parted ways, Shui Shuiying turned to Wang Jian with a playful smile. Hey, Wang Jian, she said, her voice light and teasing. From now on, you can call me Shuiying. Let's drop the formalities. Wang Jian's heart skipped a beat at her words, a grin spreading across his face. All right, Shuiying, he replied, matching her playful tone. And you can call me Jian. No need for formalities between friends, right? Shui Shuiying nodded, a sparkle of excitement in her eyes. Sounds good, Jian, she said, her smile widening. I'm glad we met today. As they parted ways, both Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation for the upcoming tournament. As Wang Jian strolled out of the inner region of the settlement, a sense of satisfaction washed over him. He couldn't help but feel a twinge of amusement at the chaos he had stirred up among the inheritors of the prestigious families and clans. Meanwhile, in the residences of the other inheritors, whispers and murmurs began to spread like wildfire. The news of Shui Shuiying being seen in close company with a mysterious man quickly reached the ears of every young heir in the vicinity. Men from influential families, with their pride and status at stake, couldn't help but feel a pang of curiosity and jealousy at the thought of Shui Shuiying's potential suitor. Who was this man who had managed to capture the attention of one of the most sought-after women in their circles? It didn't take long for them to uncover the identity of the mysterious man Wang Jian. To their surprise and relief, they discovered that he wasn't affiliated with any prominent family or sect. In fact, he was just a lone cultivator, without any powerful backing to speak of. The news brought a mixture of shock and satisfaction to the inheritors. On one hand, they were relieved that Wang Jian didn't have the support of a prestigious family or sect. This meant they could take action against him without fear of repercussions from powerful allies. On the other hand, they couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. How could someone like Wang Jian, a lone cultivator, be the one to capture Shui Shuiying's attention? It didn't sit right with them, and they were determined to do something about it. As the night wore on, plans began to form in the minds of the young inheritors. They would confront Wang Jian, show him that he didn't belong in their world, and reclaim Shui Shuiying's attention for themselves. Meanwhile, Wang Jian was well aware of the storm he had incited among the inheritors. As he walked through the settlement, he couldn't help but chuckle to himself, relishing in the chaos he had sown. His actions had put a target on his back, but he welcomed the challenge. He was no stranger to adversity, and he was more than prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With a mischievous glint in his eye, Wang Jian continued on his way, eagerly awaiting the inevitable confrontation with the inheritors who sought to challenge him. The next day, Wang Jian sought out Shui Shuiying once again, this time finding her in a bustling restaurant where the aroma of delectable dishes filled the air. As he approached her table, he couldn't help but notice the radiant smile that graced her lips as she savored each mouthful of food. "Mind if I join you, Shuiying?" Wang Jian asked with a playful glint in his eye. Shuiying's eyes lit up at the sight of him. "Of course, Jian. I was hoping you'd come," she replied, her voice warm and inviting. As they enjoyed their meal together, the atmosphere around them seemed to buzz with anticipation. Little did they know, they were about to be joined by an unexpected group of guests. Before long, the restaurant door swung open, and in marched a parade of inheritors from various clans and families, accompanied by members of prestigious sections. Their faces were contorted with displeasure as they cast disdainful glances in Wang Jian's direction. Wang Jian couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of their collective ire. "Seems like we have some uninvited guests," he remarked, his tone laced with amusement. Shuiying's expression remained composed, but there was a flicker of annoyance in her eyes. She knew that trouble was brewing, but she refused to back down. The group of inheritors approached their table with an air of arrogance, their voices dripping with disdain as they addressed Wang Jian. "Who do you think you are, mingling with someone like Shuiying?" one of them sneered, his tone dripping with contempt. Wang Jian raised an eyebrow, unfazed by their hostility. "Last time I checked, I have the right to dine wherever I please," he retorted, his voice calm and collected. Shuiying shot him a grateful look, appreciating his unwavering support. She knew that Wang Jian wasn't one to back down from a challenge, and she was grateful to have him by her side. But before she could intervene, the inheritors continued their tirade, their words growing more venomous with each passing moment. "You're nothing but a lowly cultivator," another spat, his voice filled with scorn. "How dare you even think of pursuing someone as esteemed as Shuiying?" Wang Jian's lips curled into a sardonic smile as he met their gazes head-on. "Ah, but love knows no boundaries, does it?" he replied, his tone laced with irony. Shuiying watched the exchange with a mixture of amusement and frustration. She knew that these men's words were nothing but empty threats, but their disrespect still grated on her nerves. With a sigh, she decided to step in, her voice firm and commanding. "Gentlemen, your behavior is unacceptable," she chided, her tone cutting through the tension like a knife. "If you continue to disrespect me and my guest, you'll be disrespecting the Shui family as well." The inheritors exchanged glances, clearly taken aback by her boldness. They hadn't expected Shuiying to defend Wang Jian so fiercely, and it left them feeling uncertain and uneasy. Ariad updated estirise at n//vel/bin.com. But despite her warning, they refused to back down, their pride wounded by Wang Jian's audacity to stand beside Shuiying. Wang Jian, however, remained unfazed by their posturing. He knew that their words were nothing but empty threats, and he refused to let them intimidate him. As the confrontation continued to escalate, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a sense of amusement at the absurdity of the situation. Here he was, a lone cultivator, facing off against a group of entitled heirs who thought they could dictate his actions. But he refused to let them get the better of him. With a smirk, he turned to Shuiying, silently urging her to see the humor in their predicament. Shuiying met his gaze with a knowing smile, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Despite the tension surrounding them, she couldn't help but find herself drawn to Wang Jian's irreverent charm. The atmosphere crackled with tension as the group of heirs glared at Wang Jian, their eyes filled with hostility and arrogance. They were determined to put him in his place, to show him and Shuiying that he was not worthy of her attention. As insults and challenges flew from their lips, Wang Jian remained calm and composed, his expression unreadable as he assessed the situation. He knew that the heirs were itching for a fight, eager to prove their superiority over him. Beside him, Shuiying watched with a mixture of curiosity and concern. She could sense the animosity radiating from the group of heirs, but she also sensed something else in Wang Jian's demeanor, a hint of mischief that made her wonder what he had planned. Wang Jian met their challenges with a smirk, his lips curling into a knowing smile. "Ah, so you wish to test your strength against mine?" he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Very well, but I will only fight the strongest among you." The heirs exchanged incredulous glances, their expressions shifting from anger to confusion. They had not expected Wang Jian to accept their challenge, let alone impose such a condition for the battle. Shui Shuiying, too, was taken aback by Wang Jian's words. She glanced at him with a mixture of surprise and curiosity, wondering what he was planning. Before she could voice her thoughts, however, Wang Jian's voice echoed in her mind, his words clear and reassuring. "Trust me, Shuiying," he said, his tone gentle but firm. "This will be entertaining." With a nod of agreement, Shui Shuiying turned her attention back to the group of heirs, her gaze steady and unwavering. "I agree with Wang Jian," she said, her voice firm but calm. "He should face only one of you, and only the strongest among you deserves that." The heirs exchanged uncertain glances, their expressions reflecting a mixture of surprise and disbelief. They had not expected Shui Shuiying to support Wang Jian's challenge, and her words left them momentarily speechless. As the heirs began to discuss amongst themselves, their voices rising in a heated argument, Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying exchanged amused glances. This was precisely the outcome they had anticipated, and they couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at the chaos unfolding before them. As the argument escalated into a full-blown brawl, with fists flying and insults hurled, Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying watched from the sidelines, their smiles widening with each passing moment. "This is better than any entertainment I've seen in a long time," Wang Jian remarked, his voice filled with amusement. Shui Shuiying chuckled softly in agreement, her eyes twinkling with mirth. "Indeed," she replied, her tone light and carefree. Who knew a simple challenge could cause such chaos? As the brawl raged on, Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying continued to watch, content in the knowledge that they had orchestrated the perfect distraction. And as the heirs battled amongst themselves, their focus shifted away from Wang Jian, allowing him to slip away unnoticed. With a satisfied smile, Wang Jian turned to Shui Shuiying, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Shall we make our escape?" he asked, his voice tinged with excitement. Shui Shuiying nodded eagerly, her heart pounding with exhilaration. Together, they slipped away from the chaos, their laughter echoing in the air as they disappeared into the night. As they made their escape from the chaotic scene, Shui Shuiying's laughter filled the air, a melodious symphony of excitement and amusement. She couldn't contain her joy at the spectacle they had just witnessed, and she turned to Wang Jian with sparkling eyes. "Wang Jian, that was absolutely brilliant," she exclaimed, her voice bubbling with laughter. "I've never seen anyone so effortlessly manipulate those prideful heirs before. You're truly audacious and fearless." Wang Jian grinned in response, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Oh, this was just the beginning," he replied, his voice tinged with excitement. "You haven't seen anything yet." As they walked, Wang Jian took Shui Shuiying's hand in his touch gentle yet firm. He squeezed her hand reassuringly, a silent promise that he would always protect her. Shui Shuiying couldn't help but feel a flutter of warmth in her chest at his gesture. She glanced up at him, her eyes softening with affection. "Thank you, Wang Jian," she murmured, her voice filled with gratitude. "But what will you do if those heirs decide to pursue this matter further? I may not be able to fend them all off for you." Wang Jian chuckled softly, his gaze unwavering. "Don't worry about them," he replied confidently. "I'll handle it." As they walked, they continued to converse, their words flowing easily between them. Wang Jian shared his plans to meet her the next day at a clothing shop, a mischievous glint in his eyes as he mentioned wanting to buy her a few dresses. Shui Shuiying couldn't suppress a smile at his suggestion, her cheeks flushing with excitement. "Are you sure you're not afraid of those noble heirs?" she asked teasingly. They'll likely realize you were just toying with them and become even more furious when they see you with me again. Wang Jian shrugged nonchalantly, his smile unwavering. Let them be angry, he replied. I'll deal with them when the time comes. I'll see you tomorrow at the clothing shop, he said, his voice filled with anticipation. I have a few dresses in mind that I think would look stunning on you. Shui Shuiying's eyes lit up with excitement at the prospect of trying on new dresses, her smile widening at Wang Jian's words. I can't wait, she exclaimed, her voice filled with delight. With a final squeeze of Shui Shuiying's hand, Wang Jian bid her farewell and watched as she disappeared into her residence. The sun rose on a new day, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange as Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying met up once again in the bustling streets of the settlement. They made their way to a clothing shop that Wang Jian had carefully selected, eager to spend another delightful day together. Inside the shop, Wang Jian eagerly picked out a selection of stunning outfits for Shui Shuiying to try on. With each new garment, Shui Shuiying's eyes sparkled with excitement as she imagined herself wearing them. This one is simply exquisite, Shui Shuiying exclaimed, holding up a flowing gown made of shimmering silk. Wang Jian grinned in approval, his eyes alight with admiration. It suits you perfectly, he remarked, his gaze lingering on her radiant smile. As Shui Shuiying disappeared into the dressing room to try on the dress, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation building within him. He eagerly awaited her emergence, eager to see her adorned in the gown he had chosen for her. Minutes later, Shui Shuiying stepped out of the dressing room, the gown clinging to her every curve and accentuating her graceful figure. Wang Jian's breath caught in his throat as he took in her beauty, his heart swelling with pride. You look absolutely stunning, Wang Jian whispered, his voice filled with awe. Shui Shuiying blushed at his words, a shy smile playing on her lips. Thank you, Jian, she murmured, her cheeks tinged with a rosy hue. Encouraged by her reaction, Wang Jian urged her to try on more dresses, each one more breathtaking than the last. With each new outfit, Shui Shuiying's confidence seemed to grow, her laughter filling the shop with its melodious sound. After trying on several outfits, Shui Shuiying finally settled on a few favorites. With their selections made, Wang Jian settled the bill, his heart fluttering with excitement at the thought of spending the rest of the day with Shui Shuiying. As they made their way to a nearby restaurant to grab a bite to eat, they were unaware of the storm brewing just outside. The heirs of the noble families, their egos bruised and their pride wounded from the events of the previous day, had gathered outside the restaurant, their faces twisted with anger and resentment. There he is, one of the heirs growled, his eyes narrowing as he caught sight of Wang Jian through the window of the restaurant. Let's teach him a lesson he won't forget. With grim determination, the heirs stormed into the restaurant, their eyes fixed on Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying. But Wang Jian was ready for them. With a swift motion, he unleashed a flurry of smoke talismans, filling the air with thick clouds of smoke. Using the cover of the smoke, he grabbed Shui Shuiying's hand and darted out of the restaurant, his heart pounding with adrenaline. As they fled through the crowded streets, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a sense of exhilaration coursing through him. He knew they had narrowly escaped a potentially dangerous situation, but he also felt a rush of excitement at the thrill of the chase. Shui Shuiying's hand tightened around his as they raced through the streets, her laughter ringing out like music in his ears. For a brief moment, all their worries and troubles faded away, replaced by the simple joy of being together. The day soon ended as the two returned to their respective residences. As the sun rose on another day in the settlement of the Nangong family, the air buzzed with anticipation as more noble heirs and esteemed members of ancient families arrived for the upcoming Ascending Dragon tournament. Wang Jian, ever the opportunist, saw this as the perfect chance to mingle with some of the other participants. Today, instead of meeting up with Shui Shuiying, Wang Jian set his sights on Lin Xingya, a captivating beauty from the esteemed ancient Lin family. With a sly smile playing on his lips, he made his way through the bustling streets, his confidence unwavering. Meanwhile, Lin Xingya, her beauty the subject of many admirers' fantasies, greeted the day with a sense of excitement tinged with apprehension. She knew that with the tournament drawing near, the competition would be fierce, and she was determined to prove herself on the battlefield. Find updates on n/v/elben.co/m. As she made her way through the settlement, her gaze fell upon Wang Jian, and her heart skipped a beat. There was something about him that drew her in, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. Without a second thought, she hurried towards him, her steps quickening with each passing moment. "Wang Jian!" Lin Xingya exclaimed, her voice filled with genuine surprise and delight as she reached him. Without hesitation, she enveloped him in a warm embrace, her heart racing with excitement. Caught off guard by her sudden display of affection, Wang Jian couldn't help but return the embrace, his arms wrapping around her slender frame. He felt a rush of warmth wash over him as he gently patted her back, his heart swelling with affection. "Lin Xingya, it's wonderful to see you," Wang Jian said, his voice filled with genuine warmth as he looked into her eyes. He couldn't deny the undeniable chemistry between them, a connection that seemed to transcend words. Lin Xingya smiled up at him, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of joy and curiosity. "I didn't expect to see you here," she admitted, her voice tinged with a hint of wonder. Meanwhile, Shui Shuiying and Shi Shi, having heard about Wang Jian's presence, decided to seek him out as well. However, when they arrived on the scene and saw Wang Jian embracing Lin Xingya, a pang of jealousy surged through their hearts. Shui Shuiying's brow furrowed in confusion as she watched the intimate exchange between Wang Jian and Lin Xingya. She couldn't deny the twinge of jealousy that gnawed at her heart, wondering if there was more to their relationship than met the eye. Shi, too, felt a surge of jealousy bubbling within her as she observed Wang Jian and Lin Xingya's closeness. She had harbored feelings for Wang Jian for some time now, and seeing him with another woman stirred up a mix of emotions within her. As Wang Jian finally pulled away from Lin Xingya's embrace, he caught sight of Shui Shuiying and Shi approaching. His heart skipped a beat as he realized the impact his actions had caused. "Shuiying, Shi, what a pleasant surprise," Wang Jian said, his tone casual as he greeted them. Shui Shuiying forced a smile, though her eyes betrayed her inner turmoil. "Wang Jian, it's good to see you," she replied, her voice tinged with a hint of sadness. Shi nodded curtly, her gaze icy as she regarded Wang Jian. "Indeed," she replied, her voice colder than usual. "Shall we find somewhere to sit and catch up?" Wang Jian suggested, his voice light and breezy. In the cozy ambience of the cafe, Wang Jian found himself surrounded by three remarkable women, Shi, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingya. Each had their own unique charm and background, and Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement at being the center of their attention. As the conversation flowed, the topic naturally turned to how Wang Jian knew each of them. Shi recounted the harrowing encounter with the horned dragon, expressing her gratitude for Wang Jian's timely intervention. Shui Shuiying shared the tale of their mission to eradicate the dark cultivators, her voice tinged with admiration for Wang Jian's courage. And Lin Xingya reminisced about their past exploits together, from battling demons to sharing precious moments. Wang Jian leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable as he surveyed the three women before him. A sly smile played on his lips, betraying the amusement he felt at the situation unfolding around him. He relished the attention, the adoration of these three remarkable women vying for his affections. "Ah, the million-credit question," Wang Jian remarked casually, his tone light. "Who among you do I love the most?" Shi, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingya leaned in closer, their eyes shining with anticipation as they awaited his response. Wang Jian's gaze swept over each of them in turn, his mind racing as he considered his answer. He knew that whatever he said next would have far-reaching consequences, potentially altering the dynamics of their relationships forever. But before Wang Jian could utter a word, the tranquility of the cafe was shattered by the abrupt entrance of a group of enraged men. Their faces contorted with hatred, they advanced towards Wang Jian with fists clenched and voices raised in anger. Shi Shi, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingyao sprang into action, their movements fluid and graceful as they intercepted the group of men with lightning speed. With a flurry of punches and kicks, they swiftly subdued their attackers, their martial prowess on full display for all to see. The cafe erupted into chaos as the other patrons looked on in shock and awe at the spectacle unfolding before them. Tables were overturned, chairs were sent flying, and the air crackled with tension as the women faced off against their would-be assailants. Wang Jian watched the scene unfold with a mixture of astonishment and amusement. He had not anticipated such a dramatic turn of events, but he couldn't help but admire the skill and determination of Shi Shi, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingyao as they defended him with unwavering resolve. As the dust settled and the last of the attackers were subdued, Wang Jian rose from his seat with a smirk, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Well, that certainly wasn't how I expected this conversation to go," he quipped, his voice tinged with amusement. Shi Shi, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingyao exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of satisfaction and exhaustion. With a renewed sense of purpose, Wang Jian turned to the women beside him, a smile playing on his lips. "Well, shall we continue our conversation?" he suggested, his voice laced with anticipation. And as they resumed their discussion, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel grateful for the unexpected turn of events. In the company of such remarkable women, he knew that the future held endless possibilities. As the conversation meandered on, the tension in the air became palpable. Shi Shi, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingyao couldn't help but steal glances at Wang Jian, their curiosity bubbling beneath the surface. They all awaited his response eagerly, hoping that he would declare one of them as his favorite. Wang Jian, however, seemed to be thoroughly enjoying the moment. With a mischievous twinkle in his eye, he toyed with the women, teasing them with his enigmatic smile. "Well, ladies, the answer to your question is quite simple," Wang Jian began, his voice dripping with amusement. "My favorite woman is the one who obeys my every command without question." His words hung in the air, leaving the women stunned and somewhat perplexed. They exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of surprise and mild irritation. It seemed that Wang Jian's response had caught them off guard, and they were unsure how to react. Shi spoke up first, her tone tinged with skepticism. "So, you're saying that the woman who blindly follows your orders is your favorite?" she queried, her brow furrowed in confusion. Wang Jian nodded nonchalantly, his grin widening at the women's incredulous expressions. "Indeed," he replied, his tone light and playful. "After all, what's more important in a relationship than unwavering obedience?" Shui Shuiying frowned slightly, her mind whirling with thoughts. "But isn't a relationship supposed to be based on mutual trust and respect?" she countered, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Wang Jian chuckled softly, his gaze lingering on Shui Shuiying's face. "Of course, trust and respect are important," he conceded, his tone gentle yet teasing. "But sometimes, a little obedience can go a long way." Lin Xingyao remained silent, her mind racing as she processed Wang Jian's words. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment at his response. It seemed that Wang Jian was evading the question, leaving them all feeling unsatisfied. Wang Jian, however, seemed unperturbed by their reaction. With a casual shrug, he leaned back in his chair, a playful glint in his eyes. "Think about it, ladies," he urged, his voice laced with amusement. "Who among you is willing to follow my instructions without hesitation?" The women fell into a thoughtful silence, each lost in her own thoughts. It was clear that Wang Jian's words had struck a chord with them, forcing them to confront their own feelings and desires. After a moment of contemplation, Shi spoke up, her voice tinged with determination. "I am," she declared, her eyes meeting Wang Jian's gaze with unwavering resolve. "I will follow your instructions to the letter, no matter what." Shui Shuiying nodded in agreement, her expression resolute. Count me in too, she chimed in, her voice filled with determination. I will do whatever it takes to prove myself to you. Lin Xingya hesitated for a moment, her heart torn between her own desires and Wang Jian's challenge. But in the end, she too nodded, her eyes filled with determination. I will prove to you that I am worthy of your trust, she vowed, her voice firm. Wang Jian smiled, a sense of satisfaction washing over him. It seemed that his little game had succeeded in bringing out the best in the women before him. As they resumed their conversation, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement at the possibilities that lay ahead. With a mischievous glint in his eye, Wang Jian couldn't resist teasing the trio of women, his lips curling into a playful smirk. You should have seen the looks on your faces, he chuckled, his laughter ringing out across the cafe. I was just pulling your leg, ladies. You all took it so seriously. Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingya exchanged embarrassed glances, their cheeks flushing with embarrassment. They hadn't expected Wang Jian to jest with them in such a manner, and they couldn't help but feel a bit foolish for falling for his playful prank. As the conversation continued, the women gradually relaxed, the tension dissipating as they bantered and laughed with Wang Jian. It was clear that despite his teasing, Wang Jian held a special place in each of their hearts, and they were eager to spend more time with him. Eventually, Wang Jian bid farewell to the women and made his way back to his residence in the outer region of the settlement. However, his departure didn't go unnoticed, and soon, news of the defeated noble male heirs began to spread like wildfire throughout the star of the Nangong family. The humiliated heirs seethed with anger, their pride wounded by their humiliating defeat at the hands of Lin Xingya, Ji Shi, and Shui Shuiying. However, they knew better than to direct their ire towards the formidable women, each of whom hailed from prestigious and influential backgrounds. Discover dated novels on NOV/E/Lbin.co. Instead, they turned their fury towards Wang Jian, blaming him for their embarrassment and vowing to exact revenge. Their anger reached a boiling point, and they descended upon Wang Jian's residence in the outer region with malicious intent, fully intending to ransack the place and deliver a beating to the audacious cultivator. But when they arrived at Wang Jian's residence, they were met with an empty house, devoid of its occupant. Confusion and frustration washed over them as they realized that Wang Jian had slipped through their fingers once again. Unbeknownst to them, Wang Jian had anticipated their actions and had sought refuge in Lin Xingya's residence, using the chaos as an opportunity to seek shelter with the woman he admired. As he stood in Lin Xingya's home, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at his clever maneuver. He had managed to evade the wrath of the enraged heirs while simultaneously drawing closer to Lin Xingya, all according to his plan. Turning to Lin Xingya with a charming smile, Wang Jian explained his situation, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Well, it seems those noble heirs have made quite a mess of my residence, he remarked casually. I suppose I'll have to stay here with you until things calm down. Lin Xingya's cheeks flushed a deep shade of red at Wang Jian's words, her heart fluttering with excitement at the thought of having him stay with her. Despite her embarrassment, she couldn't deny the thrill of having Wang Jian by her side. With a shy smile, Lin Xingya nodded in agreement, her eyes shining with affection as she welcomed Wang Jian into her home. As the evening settled in, Wang Jian found himself comfortably nestled in Lin Xingya's residence, surrounded by the warm glow of lamplight and the soothing ambience of her home. Lin Xingya, ever the gracious host, had laid out a set of instructions for Wang Jian, detailing how he should conduct himself during his stay. Now, Wang Jian, Lin Xingya began, her tone gentle but firm, I want you to make yourself at home, but please remember to respect the boundaries of our personal space. You can sleep on the couch in the living room, and I'll be in my bedroom. We'll have our own private areas, okay? Wang Jian listened intently, nodding in agreement with a playful glint in his eye. Of course, Lin Xingya, he replied smoothly, his lips curving into a sly smile. I'll be the perfect house guest, I promise. Little did she know, he had no intention of adhering to her conditions. After all, Where was the fun in playing by the rules? The two were soon engaged in lively conversation that continued even over dinner. As the night progressed and the hour grew late, Lin Xingya finally declared that it was time to retire for the evening. With a gentle smile, she bid Wang Jian good night and made her way to her bed, fully expecting him to follow suit and sleep on the couch as they had agreed upon. However, to Lin Xingya's surprise, she felt a slight tremor in her bed as Wang Jian climbed onto it beside her. Her eyes widened in astonishment as she turned to face him, her heart pounding in her chest at the unexpected turn of events. "Wang Jian, what are you doing?" Lin Xingya asked, her voice betraying a mixture of confusion and apprehension. But before she could protest further, Wang Jian's arms encircled her waist, pulling her close in a tender embrace. Lin Xingya's breath caught in her throat as she felt the warmth of his body pressed against hers, sending a shiver down her spine. With a sly smile playing on his lips, Wang Jian leaned in close, his gaze locking with Lin Xingya's as he whispered softly, "Do you really want me to sleep on the couch, Lin Xingya?" Lin Xingya's cheeks flushed a deep shade of crimson at the intimate proximity, her mind racing as she struggled to find a coherent response. Despite her best efforts to maintain her composure, she couldn't deny the flutter of excitement that stirred within her at Wang Jian's boldness. "I." Lin Xingya stammered, her voice barely above a whisper as she searched for the right words to convey her thoughts. But before she could utter another word, Wang Jian's lips met hers in a tender kiss, sending her heart soaring with exhilaration. In that moment, all doubts and reservations melted away as Lin Xingya surrendered herself to the intoxicating allure of their burgeoning romance. As the kiss between Wang Jian and Lin Xingya ended, Lin Xingya couldn't help but show a shy look, her cheeks flushed with a mixture of embarrassment and excitement. However, Wang Jian seemed determined not to let the moment slip away. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, he began to remove Lin Xingya's clothes, revealing her exquisite naked form to his hungry gaze. Lin Xingya couldn't suppress a gasp as Wang Jian's hands roamed over her body, igniting a fire of desire within her. She squirmed slightly under his touch, a mix of nervousness and arousal coursing through her veins. "Wang Jian, we shouldn't." Lin Xingya murmured, her voice filled with uncertainty as she tried to resist his advances. But Wang Jian paid no heed to her protests, his lustful intent driving him forward with an almost primal urgency. With a playful grin, Wang Jian continued to explore Lin Xingya's body, reveling in her soft curves and delicate features. Each touch sent a wave of pleasure coursing through him, fueling his desire to possess her completely. Lin Xingya's resistance only seemed to fuel Wang Jian's excitement further, his passion mounting with each passing moment. Despite her protests, he could sense the underlying desire in her eyes, a silent plea for him to take her in his arms and lose themselves in the heat of the moment. Before long, Wang Jian's pants were discarded, revealing his throbbing member in all its glory. With a primal growl, he positioned himself between Lin Xingya's thighs, his gaze locking with hers as he prepared to plunge into her depths. As Wang Jian's cock entered Lin Xingya's pussy, she let out a gasp of surprise, her eyes widening in disbelief. Despite her initial resistance, the feeling of being taken by him was too intense to ignore. A mixture of pain and pleasure coursed through her body, making her grip the sheets tightly as she tried to keep from crying out. Wang Jian moved slowly at first, giving Lin Xingya time to adjust to the sensation. But soon enough, he picked up the pace, driving deep into her with each powerful thrust. Lin Xingya's body convulsed beneath him, her nails digging into his back as she fought against the onslaught of sensations. Unfazed by her struggles, Wang Jian continued his assault, determined to claim what he wanted. He reached down and gripped Lin Xingya's large breasts, pulling her close as he buried his face in her cleavage. The combination of his rough treatment and his intense passion ignited a fire within Lin Xingya, pushing her past her initial fear and into a world of pure pleasure. Her moans became more and more desperate as Wang Jian's movements grew more forceful. She arched her back, offering herself to him completely, lost in the throes of their passionate encounter. Each time he smacked her round buttocks, Lin Xingya cried out in both pain and arousal. The sting of the slaps only served to heighten her senses, driving her deeper into the heat of the moment. Wang Jian's skillful ministrations left Lin Xingya gasping for breath, her body trembling from the sheer force of the orgasm that tore through her. With a final thrust, he plunged into her, claiming her as his own. Lin Xingya collapsed against the bed, panting heavily as she struggled to catch her breath. "Good girl," Wang Jian murmured, nuzzling her neck. He withdrew from her slowly, his cock still hard and throbbing. Lin Xingya looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of love and lust. "That was incredible," she whispered, reaching out to caress his face. Wang Jian grinned at Lin Xingya's shy expression. "Well, we're only just getting started," he said, his voice tinged with amusement. He pulled her roughly onto her hands and knees, positioning her for the next stage of their encounter. Lin Xingya whimpered as Wang Jian entered her from behind, his cock sinking deep into her warmth. She felt impossibly exposed, the position making her feel utterly vulnerable. Yet despite her embarrassment, she couldn't deny the pleasure she felt as Wang Jian began to move inside her. His hands roamed freely over her body, exploring every inch of her soft skin. He smacked her round bottom once more, making Lin Xingya cry out in both pain and pleasure. She couldn't believe how much she enjoyed the sting of his hand on her bare cheeks. The combination of Wang Jian's rough treatment and his powerful thrusts had Lin Xingya whimpering and moaning like a wanton slut. She squeezed her thighs tightly together, trying to hold back the orgasm that was building within her. As Wang Jian continued his assault, she felt like she was losing her mind with pleasure. Her moans grew more desperate as he pulled her hair, urging her to move faster against his hips. He bit her shoulder, her breast, her neck, anywhere he could sink his teeth into her delicate skin. Each sensation only served to fuel the fire burning inside Lin Xingya, consuming her completely. With a final cry, Lin Xingya gave in to the powerful orgasm that ripped through her body. She felt like she was dying, the pleasure so intense it was almost too much to bear. Lin Xingya woke up to find herself alone in bed, her body sore and aching. As she looked around the room, a frown creased her brow. "Where did he go?" she muttered to herself, the dissatisfaction evident in her voice. Struggling to sit up, Lin Xingya winced as a sharp pain shot through her lower body. She let out a loud groan, the sound echoing in the room. Just then, the door creaked open, and Wang Jian sauntered in, looking rather dapper in his elegant attire, a cup of tea in hand. He flashed her a smirk as he approached, offering her the cup of tea. "Morning, beautiful," he greeted her casually, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Lin Xingya shot him a glare, her dissatisfaction evident. "Morning," she grumbled, accepting the tea but refusing to meet his gaze. Wang Jian chuckled at her response, taking a seat beside her on the bed. "Rough night, huh?" he teased, taking a sip of his tea. Lin Xingya's glare deepened as she shot him a pointed look. "You could say that," she retorted, her tone laced with irritation. Wang Jian's smirk widened as he leaned back against the headboard, his gaze roaming over her disheveled appearance. "You're just too irresistible, Xingya," he remarked casually, his tone unapologetic. Lin Xingya huffed in response, crossing her arms over her chest. "That doesn't give you the right to be so rough," she snapped, her frustration bubbling to the surface. Wang Jian simply shrugged in response, his nonchalant demeanor unwavering. "Can't help it if you bring out the beast in me," he quipped, a playful glint in his eyes. Lin Xingya rolled her eyes at his remark, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "You're impossible," she muttered under her breath, taking a sip of her tea in an attempt to calm her nerves. As Lin Xingya demanded an explanation for his plans for the day, Wang Jian leaned back casually, crossing his legs. "Well, I thought I'd go out and have some fun with those noble airs," he explained, his tone light. Then, I might pay a visit to Shui Shuiying's residence and spend the night there. Lin Xingya's eyes narrowed as she processed Wang Jian's words, her mind racing with a mix of disbelief and indignation. "You're going to stay with Shui Shuiying?" she exclaimed, her voice tinged with a hint of anger. Wang Jian nodded casually, taking a sip of his tea as he leaned against the doorway. "Yeah, I figured I'd give her a turn," he replied, his tone nonchalant. "After all, it's only fair, right?" Lin Xingya's cheeks flushed with frustration as she listened to Wang Jian's flippant response. She couldn't believe that he would be so casual about leaving her after their night together. "Fair?" she repeated incredulously. "How is that fair? You just used me and now you're moving on to someone else?" Wang Jian shrugged, his expression remaining unfazed. "Hey, it's not like we're in a committed relationship or anything," he said with a casual wave of his hand. "Besides, you got what you wanted, didn't you?" Lin Xingya's fists clenched at her sides as she fought to keep her temper in check. She couldn't deny that she had enjoyed their night together, but she couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal either. "You're unbelievable," she muttered, her voice laced with frustration. Wang Jian flashed her a charming smile, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "I try," he replied, taking another sip of his tea. "Anyway, I should get going. Don't worry, I'll come visit you again sometime." Despite her frustration, Lin Xingya couldn't help but melt at his touch, a small sigh escaping her lips. "You better," she replied, unable to hide the hint of vulnerability in her voice. With a reassuring smile, Wang Jian leaned in to place a gentle kiss on her lips. "I promise," he whispered, his words sending a shiver down her spine. Check new CHDers at novelbin.com. As he left her room, Lin Xingya couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in the pit of her stomach. She knew that despite his charm and charisma, Wang Jian was a wild card, a man with his own agenda. And as much as she tried to resist, she couldn't deny the pull he had on her heart. Wang Jian strolled through the inner region of the settlement, a mischievous glint in his eyes as he moved stealthily among the residences. "Time for a little payback," he muttered to himself, a smirk playing on his lips. As he approached each noble heir's residence, he couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at the chaos he was about to unleash. "Let's see how they like having their homes destroyed," he thought, his excitement growing with each step. With a mischievous grin, he tapped into the laws of shadow, cloaking himself in invisibility as he crept closer to the first target. The building loomed before him, its grandeur a testament to the wealth and power of its owner. Wang Jian's eyes sparkled with mischief as he reached out, his fingers brushing against the walls of the residence. With a surge of power, he drained the elemental energy from the structure, weakening its very foundations. With his task complete, Wang Jian moved on to the next building, and then the next, repeating the process until he had sapped the strength from hundreds of residences throughout the inner region. As the evening descended and the streets grew quieter, Wang Jian released a light gust of wind, setting off a chain reaction of destruction. One by one, the weakened buildings began to crumble, sending clouds of dust billowing into the air. Wang Jian watched with satisfaction as the buildings crumbled to the ground, the sound of their destruction echoing through the night. "That ought to teach them a lesson," he muttered, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. Meanwhile, in the aftermath of the destruction, the noble heirs gathered together, their faces pale with shock and humiliation. They exchanged worried glances, realizing that this was likely retribution for their actions against Wang Jian the previous day. Meanwhile, amidst the rubble and debris, the noble heirs gathered in shock and disbelief. Fear gnawed at their hearts as they realized the extent of the devastation wrought upon them. "This is payback for yesterday," one of them muttered darkly, his voice tinged with fear. "We've angered someone we shouldn't have." As panic spread among the noble heirs, Wang Jian made his way to Shui Shuiying's residence, his heart racing with excitement at the thought of her reaction. Arriving at her door, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation as he knocked lightly. When Shui Shuiying opened the door, her eyes widened in surprise at the sight of him standing there. "Wang Jian? What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice laced with curiosity. Wang Jian flashed her a charming smile, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Just thought I'd drop by and see how you're doing," he replied casually, his tone playful. Shui Shuiying eyed him suspiciously, but stepped aside to let him in. "Well, come on in then," she said, gesturing for him to enter. As they sat down to chat, Shui Shuiying couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. "What's going on?" she wondered, casting a wary glance at Wang Jian. But Wang Jian just grinned at her, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Oh, nothing much," he said nonchalantly, his tone light. "Just thought I'd come and keep you company for a while." Shui Shuiying narrowed her eyes at him but couldn't hide the hint of a smile that tugged at her lips. "You're up to something, aren't you?" she accused, unable to suppress a giggle. Wang Jian chuckled, his grin widening. "Maybe," he admitted, his eyes dancing with mischief. "But you'll just have to wait and see." As they continued to chat, Shui Shuiying couldn't shake the feeling that Wang Jian was hiding something from her. But for now, she pushed aside her suspicions and focused on enjoying his company. After all, there was never a dull moment when Wang Jian was around. Wang Jian leaned back in his chair, a mischievous glint in his eyes as he recounted his exploits to Shui Shuiying. "So, you see, I thought it was only fair to return the favor," he said with a smirk, his voice laced with amusement. Shui Shuiying's eyes widened in realization as she connected the dots. "Wait, you mean, you're the one who caused all those buildings to collapse?" she exclaimed, a mixture of shock and amusement crossing her face. Wang Jian nodded, a proud grin spreading across his face. "Guilty as charged," he admitted, his tone unapologetic. "But hey, they had it coming after what they did to my place." Shui Shuiying couldn't help but burst into laughter at the absurdity of the situation. "I have to admit, that's pretty clever. That situation was a bit too strange, and even I had to call on for an official to get my residence checked up to find out whether it would collapse or not," she said between giggles. "Well, for those noble heirs, it was just karma coming back to bite them." "Yep," Wang Jian agreed. As they continued to chat, Wang Jian's gaze wandered appreciatively over Shui Shuiying's figure. Unable to resist the temptation any longer, he leaned forward and casually requested, "Hey, would you mind making some tea for me?" Shui Shuiying nodded, a smile playing on her lips as she headed towards the kitchen. "Sure thing," she replied, her voice light and cheerful. A few minutes later, as Shui Shuiying was busy preparing the tea, Wang Jian seized the opportunity to follow her into the kitchen. When he entered the kitchen, his eyes lingered on Shui Shuiying's curvaceous form, his heart racing with anticipation. Without warning, he reached out and grabbed hold of her voluptuous buttocks, his touch firm and possessive. Shui Shuiying gasped in surprise, her cheeks flushing crimson as she turned to face him. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, her voice tinged with both shock and amusement. Wang Jian flashed her a sly grin, his eyes dancing with mischief. "Just couldn't resist," he quipped, his tone teasing. "Your butt is like a magnet, pulling me in." 13:18. Shui Shuiying rolled her eyes playfully, swatting his hand away with a mock scowl. "You're incorrigible," she chided, though a hint of laughter lingered in her voice. Wang Jian chuckled, his grin widening as he leaned in closer. "Guilty as charged," he replied, his voice low and husky. "But you love it." Shui Shuiying couldn't help but laugh at his audacity, shaking her head in mock exasperation. "You're lucky I find you amusing," she teased, though there was a warmth in her eyes that betrayed her true feelings. At this moment, Wang Jian was groping Shui Shuiying's buttocks rather aggressively. And as he did this, he leaned his face towards Shui Shuiying's ear to speak to her. Wang Jian's husky whisper sent shivers down Shui Shuiying's spine as he spoke to her with a lustful tone. She could feel the heat rising in her cheeks as his words stirred something deep within her. "Are you going to resist me?" he murmured, his breath hot against her ear. Shui Shuiying couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement at his question. She glanced up at him with a playful gleam in her eyes. "And what if I do?" she teased, a hint of challenge in her voice. For a moment, Wang Jian didn't respond. Instead, he withdrew his hands from her buttocks, leaving her feeling a strange mix of relief and disappointment. She had secretly enjoyed his touch, but she wasn't sure how to admit it. But before she could dwell on her conflicting emotions, Wang Jian surprised her by delivering a sharp smack to her rear. Shui Shuiying gasped in surprise, her eyes widening as she felt the sting spreading across her skin. Wang Jian's husky voice whispered in her ear, sending a shiver down her spine. "If you resist me, I'll have to punish you," he murmured, his tone dripping with desire. Shui Shuiying's heart raced at his words, her body responding instinctively to his touch. She felt a rush of arousal coursing through her veins, her breath coming in short gasps as she struggled to maintain her composure. But even as her mind screamed for her to resist, her body betrayed her, craving more of his touch. She found herself arching into his hand, silently begging for his punishment. Wang Jian chuckled softly at her response, his touch growing bolder as he continued to tease her. "You like that, don't you?" he whispered, his voice laced with amusement. Shui Shuiying bit her lip, unable to deny the truth of his words. Despite her best efforts to resist, she couldn't deny the intense pleasure coursing through her veins. "Yes," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. New chapters will be fully updated at novl/bin.com. With a wicked grin, Wang Jian leaned in closer, his lips hovering just inches from hers. "Good," he murmured, his voice sending shivers down her spine. "Because I'm just getting started." As he pressed his lips to hers in a passionate kiss, Shui Shuiying surrendered herself completely to the pleasure. Shui Shuiying was caught off guard by the speed at which things were progressing, but she couldn't deny the exhilarating rush that coursed through her veins. With each kiss, each touch from Wang Jian, she felt herself surrendering to the overwhelming desire that consumed her. As Wang Jian's lips pressed against hers once more, Shui Shuiying melted into the kiss, her hands tangling in his hair as she returned his passion with equal fervor. She gasped as his hands found her breasts, his touch igniting a fire within her that she couldn't extinguish. Discover dated novels on nov/e/lbin.co. Her breath hitched in her throat as he trailed kisses down her neck, sending shivers of pleasure coursing through her body. She arched into his touch, a soft moan escaping her lips as he teased her sensitive skin. When Wang Jian's lips found her breasts, Shui Shuiying's head spun with pleasure. She cried out as he nibbled and sucked on her nipples, sending waves of ecstasy rippling through her body. Meanwhile, his hands roamed freely over her curves, kneading and squeezing her buttocks with a deliciously possessive touch. Shui Shuiying's moans grew louder with each caress, her body trembling with anticipation. As the heat between them intensified, Wang Jian finally removed his trousers, revealing his massive member to Shui Shuiying's hungry gaze. She couldn't help but gasp at the sight, her eyes widening in anticipation. With a soft command, Wang Jian urged her to prepare herself, and Shui Shuiying complied eagerly, her body trembling with anticipation. As he pushed her against the marble slab in the kitchen, she felt a rush of excitement coursing through her veins. With a gasp, Shui Shuiying spread her legs, offering herself to him completely. As Wang Jian's cock pierced her pussy, she cried out in ecstasy, her body arching against his as he filled her with his throbbing member. Each thrust sent shockwaves of pleasure coursing through her, her mind spinning with ecstasy as she surrendered herself completely to him. She clung to the edge of the counter, her nails digging into the cool marble as she rode the waves of pleasure that crashed over her. For Shui Shuiying, there was no room for hesitation or restraint. In that moment, there was only the overwhelming sensation of being consumed by desire, her body and soul intertwined with Wang Jian's in a dance of pure passion. And as they moved together in perfect harmony, Shui Shuiying knew that she had never experienced anything quite like it before. As the night wore on, Wang Jian and Shui Shuiying indulged in a whirlwind of passion and desire, their bodies entwined in a feverish dance of pleasure. After their heated encounter in the kitchen, Wang Jian led Shui Shuiying to the living room, where they continued their carnal escapades. With each new position, each new touch, they pushed the boundaries of pleasure, exploring the depths of their desires with reckless abandon. In the dim light of the living room, Wang Jian pressed Shui Shuiying against the wall, his hands roaming her body with possessive intent. "Ready for round 2? Wang Jian whispered huskily, his voice sending shivers down Shui Shuiying's spine. She could only nod eagerly in response, her body already yearning for more of his touch. With a hungry growl, he claimed her lips in a searing kiss, his tongue dancing with hers in a fervent embrace. Their bodies moved in perfect synchrony, each thrust driving them closer to the edge of ecstasy. Shui Shuiying's moans filled the air, mingling with the sound of their bodies slapping together in a rhythm as old as time itself. With each passing moment, the intensity of their passion grew, until they were consumed by the flames of desire, lost in a world of pleasure that belonged only to them. But Wang Jian wasn't satisfied yet. He wanted to explore every inch of Shui Shuiying's body, to push her to the limits of pleasure and beyond. So he led her to the bedroom, where they continued their erotic journey into the night. With each new position, each new touch, they discovered new heights of pleasure, each more intense than the last. In the soft glow of the moonlight, Wang Jian worshipped Shui Shuiying's body with a fervor that bordered on obsession. He teased and tantalized her, driving her to the brink of madness with his expert touch. And as they reached the pinnacle of pleasure together, they were consumed by the fiery passion that burned between them, lost in a world of ecstasy that belonged only to them. But even as the night wore on, Wang Jian showed no signs of slowing down. In the bathroom, they indulged in a steamy encounter, the hot water cascading over their entwined bodies as they lost themselves in the throes of passion. Wang Jian pressed Shui Shuiying against the tiled wall, her legs wrapped around his waist as he took her with an intensity that left her breathless. "More, Wang Jian, please," Shui Shuiying begged, her voice a desperate plea as she clung to him, her body trembling with anticipation. Wang Jian obliged, his movements becoming more urgent as he drove her to the brink of ecstasy again and again. With each thrust, he pushed her closer to the edge, his own desire burning bright as he lost himself in the heat of their passion. Finally, they returned to the bedroom, their bodies slick with sweat as they collapsed onto the bed in a tangled heap of limbs and desire. Wang Jian held Shui Shuiying close, his arms wrapping around her as they drifted off to sleep, sated and content in each other's embrace. As the first light of dawn broke through the curtains, they stirred awake, their bodies still humming with the echoes of their passionate night together. With a satisfied smile, Wang Jian pulled Shui Shuiying close, pressing a tender kiss to her lips as they basked in the afterglow of their shared ecstasy. As the afternoon sun streamed through the window, Shui Shuiying and Wang Jian both stirred from their slumber, their bodies entangled in the aftermath of their passionate night together. With a sleepy groan, Shui Shuiying blinked her eyes open, feeling a sense of warmth and contentment wash over her. But as she shifted, she felt a curious sensation between her legs and realized with a jolt that Wang Jian's dick was still nestled snugly inside her pussy. A blush crept onto her cheeks as she realized they had slept the entire morning with him still inside her. Wang Jian, sensing her discomfort, slowly withdrew his member, causing a trickle of his semen to leak out of her pussy. Shui Shuiying couldn't help but feel a mix of embarrassment and arousal at the sight, her cheeks flushing crimson. "Oh, good morning," she mumbled, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. Wang Jian chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling with amusement. Morning, sleepyhead, he teased, giving her a playful wink as he stretched languidly. As he suggested getting dressed and preparing some food, Shui Shuiying nodded, feeling a little unsteady on her feet. The intensity of their passion from the night before still lingered, leaving her limbs weak and trembling. Wang Jian, however, seemed perfectly composed as he effortlessly donned his clothes. Shui Shuiying couldn't help but marvel at his ease, feeling a mix of admiration and annoyance at his seemingly boundless energy. "You're like a beast," she half-joked, her tone tinged with both amusement and exasperation. Wang Jian flashed her a charming grin, his eyes dancing with mischief. "Guilty as charged," he quipped, his voice smooth as silk. "But you handled it much better than Lin Xingya." Shui Shuiying's eyes widened in surprise at his mention of Lin Xingya. "Wait, you had sex with Lin Xingya too?" she exclaimed, her voice betraying a hint of jealousy. Wang Jian shrugged nonchalantly, his demeanor casual. "Of course," he replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "She's just as irresistible as you are, Shui Shuiying." The mention of Lin Xingya ignited a spark of anger within Shui Shuiying, and she couldn't help but curse Wang Jian under her breath. The idea of him being intimate with another woman before her was both infuriating and hurtful. But before she could voice her protests, Wang Jian leaned in close, his hand connecting with her rounded buttocks in a playful smack. A shiver of pleasure coursed through her body, momentarily distracting her from her anger. "Stop dwelling on it, sweetheart," he murmured, his voice low and seductive as he whispered in her ear. "Just focus on what I tell you to do." Shui Shuiying's mind raced with conflicting emotions, but she couldn't deny the undeniable thrill that coursed through her veins at Wang Jian's touch. With a resigned sigh, she nodded her head, knowing that she was powerless to resist his charms. As Wang Jian disappeared into the kitchen, Shui Shuiying took a moment to compose herself, her mind still reeling from their passionate encounter. Despite her anger and jealousy, she couldn't deny the undeniable attraction she felt towards Wang Jian, a potent mixture of desire and frustration that left her craving more. As the days passed by, Wang Jian found himself entangled in a steamy rotation between Lin Xingya and Shui Shuiying, each day bringing a new wave of pleasure and excitement. One day, he'd find himself lost in the sultry embrace of Lin Xingya, exploring every inch of her voluptuous curves with eager hands and hungry lips. The next day, it would be Shui Shuiying's turn to succumb to his irresistible charms, her moans filling the air as he drove her to the brink of ecstasy again and again. Wang Jian reveled in the power he held over both women, each one willing to submit to his desires without question. He had turned them into his own personal playthings, their minds clouded with lust and desire whenever he was near. It was a heady feeling, knowing that he could have them both at his beck and call whenever he pleased. Despite his newfound conquests, Wang Jian had yet to make a move on Xixi since their meeting in the cafe. Find the new ST-ovals on n/velbin.com. He wasn't in any rush to pursue her just yet, confident that he could add her to his collection whenever he desired. For now, he was content to focus his attention on Lin Xingya and Shui Shuiying, indulging in their carnal pleasures without restraint. As the day of the tournament drew near, cultivators from far and wide descended upon the star controlled by the Nangong family, eager to test their skills and prove their worth in battle. Wang Jian, Lin Xingya, Shui Shuiying, and Xixi were among the participants, each one determined to emerge victorious and claim the ultimate prize. When the first round of the tournament commenced, tens of thousands of cultivators took to the arena, their spirits high as they prepared to face off against their opponents. Wang Jian, Lin Xingya, Shui Shuiying, and Xixi all breezed through their respective matches with ease, their superior cultivation bases granting them an undeniable advantage over their opponents. Wang Jian's cultivation was at the peak stage of the Divine Convergence realm, while Lin Xingya, Shui Shuiying, and Xixi showcased their dominance at the middle stage of the Divine Spirit realm. Wang Jian, in particular, showcased his prowess as he effortlessly dispatched his adversaries, his movements fluid and precise as he danced across the battlefield. Lin Xingya's mastery of the martial arts was equally impressive, her elegant strikes leaving her opponent reeling in defeat. Shui Shuiying's ferocity in battle was unmatched, her lightning-fast reflexes and devastating attacks striking fear into the hearts of her foes. And then there was Shi, her beauty and grace belying the deadly precision of her strikes. With each movement, she danced through the battlefield with the grace of a swan, her opponents falling before her like leaves in the wind. After the conclusion of the first round, only half of the victorious cultivators advanced to the next stage, gradually whittling down the competition until only 128 participants remained for the main tournament. The Nangong family meticulously managed the pairings to ensure that only the strongest cultivators progressed, a strategic move to ensure the quality of the main tournament. With such a large number of participants, the tournament sprawled across various arenas scattered across different stars, planets, and even moons under the control of the Nangong ancient family. With so many participants, the competition is heating up, remarked Wang Jian, surveying the bustling arena with a keen eye. Indeed, Lin Xingya agreed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. But we'll show them what we're made of. Shui Shuiying nodded in agreement, her confidence unwavering. We didn't come this far to back down now. The tournament schedule was relentless, with 4 rounds occurring in a single day. Over the course of 20 intense days, Wang Jian, Lin Xingya, Shui Shuiying, and Shi showcased their prowess, emerging victorious in each round to secure their spots among the elite 128 cultivators. Looks like we made it, Wang Jian remarked, a sense of satisfaction evident in his voice. It's been quite the journey, Lin Xingya agreed, a hint of pride in her tone. Shui Shuiying flashed a smile. And the real challenge is yet to come. She remained silent, her expression serene yet determined. Amidst the hustle and bustle of the tournament grounds, cultivators from far-flung corners of the cosmos converged on the star where the main event would unfold. Among the top contenders stood Wang Jian's archenemy, Lin Fei. His presence elicited a wicked grin from Wang Jian, who relished the prospect of confronting his foe on the battlefield. This just got interesting, he muttered to himself. Wang Jian couldn't resist the opportunity to toy with Lin Fei, knowing full well of his infatuation with Lin Xingya. He couldn't wait to see the shock and disbelief on Lin Fei's face when he realized that Lin Xingya had fallen for his sworn enemy in the most depraved manner possible. It'll be amusing to see his reaction, Wang Jian thought, his eyes glinting with anticipation. Lin Fei won't know what hit him. Meanwhile, Lin Fei, oblivious to Wang Jian's scheming, held an expression which was a mix of determination and anticipation. He was focused on the battles ahead, completely unaware of the surprise that awaited him. In the bustling evening of that fateful day, Lin Fei's ears perked up at the sound of gossip about his sister Lin Xingya's participation in the tournament. His heart skipped a beat, and without a second thought, he bolted towards the inner region of the settlement where Lin Xingya was said to be staying. Xingya's here? Lin Fei exclaimed to himself, his heart pounding with urgency. As he approached the entrance to the inner region, he found himself face to face with a pair of imposing guards. Hold it right there, one of them barked, blocking Lin Fei's path. Sorry, mate, but no one gets in without proper authorization, the other added, eyeing Lin Fei suspiciously. Lin Fei's mind raced as he tried to explain his predicament. But she's my sister. Lin Xingya, he protested, desperation evident in his voice. The guards exchanged skeptical glances, clearly unimpressed by Lin Fei's disheveled appearance. Sure she is, pal. And I'm the emperor, one of them retorted sarcastically. Lin Fei's frustration mounted as he brandished the token of a main contender in the tournament, hoping to sway the guards. Look, I have this. I'm supposed to be here, he insisted, waving the token in their faces. But the guards remained unmoved, their expressions stony. Doesn't matter what piece of paper you've got. Rules are rules, one of them remarked dismissively. Unable to contain his anger any longer, Lin Fei's fists clenched as he launched into a frenzied attack on the guards, his blows raining down upon them with ferocity. "Let me through, damn it," he shouted, his voice echoing with fury as he pummeled the guards relentlessly. The scene quickly drew a crowd, curious onlookers gathering to witness the chaos unfolding at the entrance to the inner settlement. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd as they watched Lin Fei take on the guards of the prestigious Nangong family. "Whoa, check it out! That guy's going nuts. Looks like trouble's brewing. Someone better call for backup." As the skirmish escalated, Lin Fei's determination only grew stronger, his fists flying with reckless abandon. He was prepared to do whatever it took to reach his sister, consequences be damned. As the backup of guards swarmed in, the atmosphere crackled with tension, and Lin Fei found himself surrounded by a formidable array of elder experts from the Nangong family. Their imposing presence sent shivers down his spine, but he stood his ground defiantly, his fists clenched in determination. One of the elders, adorned in resplendent robes, stepped forward, his eyes flashing with authority. "What's going on here?" he demanded, his voice sharp with authority. Lin Fei bristled at the elder's tone, but he squared his shoulders and prepared to make his case. "I'm trying to see my sister, Lin Xingya. She's staying in the inner region," he explained, gesturing towards the guarded entrance. The elder's expression hardened as he listened to Lin Fei's words. "And you think that gives you the right to attack our guards?" he retorted, his voice laced with disdain. Lin Fei's frustration boiled over at the elder's dismissive tone. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to see my sister," he insisted, his voice tinged with desperation. But the elder remained unmoved, his gaze cold and unwavering. "Rules are rules, boy. You can't just barge in wherever you please," he stated firmly, crossing his arms across his chest. Enraged by the elder's refusal to listen, Lin Fei lashed out impulsively, his fists flying towards the elder in a fit of anger. The sudden attack caught the elder off guard, but he quickly regained his composure, deflecting Lin Fei's blows with practiced ease. "Enough of this nonsense," he snapped, his voice thundering with authority. But Lin Fei refused to back down, his determination unyielding as he summoned a majestic phoenix at the divine spirit realm to aid him in battle. As the battle unfolded, chaos erupted, with Lin Fei and the experts of the Nangong family locked in a fierce struggle. Spells crackled through the air, and weapons clashed with resounding force as both sides fought tooth and nail for supremacy. Amidst the chaos, Lin Fei fought with a fervor fueled by desperation, his every move calculated to overcome his formidable opponents. Despite being outnumbered, he refused to retreat, his resolve unwavering in the face of overwhelming odds. The clash of wills continued unabated, each side refusing to yield an inch as they battled for dominance in the swirling maelstrom of combat. As the fierce battle raged on, the clash of weapons and spells echoed through the air, drawing the attention of all nearby. Among the spectators, a figure emerged from the crowd, his presence commanding attention. This was Elder Liang, a prominent figure within the Nangong family known for his wisdom and authority. Elder Liang had been alerted to the commotion at the entrance of the inner region and hurried to the scene to assess the situation. His brow furrowed in concern as he observed the chaos unfolding before him. "What in the world is going on here?" Elder Liang demanded, his voice cutting through the clamor of battle. The combatants paused, their attention turning towards the newcomer. Lin Fei, his fists still clenched in defiance, met Elder Liang's gaze with a mixture of anger and frustration. Meanwhile, the guards and elders of the Nangong family bowed respectfully as Elder Liang approached, acknowledging his authority with deference. "Explain yourselves," Elder Liang ordered, his gaze sweeping over the gathered crowd. One of the guards stepped forward, recounting the events that had led to the confrontation. Elder Liang listened attentively, his expression growing solemn as he absorbed the details of the situation. Once the guard had finished speaking, Elder Liang turned his attention to Lin Fei, his expression softening with sympathy. I apologize for the misunderstanding, young man, he began, his voice calm and reassuring. It seems there has been a mistake, and for that, I offer my sincerest apologies. Lin Fei's eyes widened in surprise at Elder Liang's unexpected apology. He had not expected such humility from a member of the Nangong family. Elder Liang continued, his tone gentle yet authoritative. As a gesture of goodwill, I will ensure that you are properly compensated for any inconvenience you have endured, he promised. Lin Fei's expression softened, his anger dissipating in the face of Elder Liang's sincerity. He nodded in acknowledgement, grateful for the elder's understanding. And as for your desire to see your sister, Lin Xingya, Elder Liang added, his voice taking on a note of determination, I will personally escort you to her residence. Lin Fei's eyes widened in surprise at the unexpected offer. He hadn't anticipated such a generous gesture from the Nangong family. With a nod of gratitude, Lin Fei followed Elder Liang as they made their way towards the inner region, leaving behind the chaos and confusion of the battle behind them. As they strolled through the inner region, Lin Fei couldn't help but marvel at the beauty that surrounded him. The elegant architecture and meticulously maintained gardens stood in stark contrast to the rough and rugged landscape of the outer region where he had been living. Elder Liang, walking beside him, noticed Lin Fei's awe and smiled knowingly. It's quite the sight, isn't it? He said, his voice carrying a hint of pride. The inner region is reserved for the heirs of reputed families who are allied to the Nangong family. Lin Fei nodded, taking in the grandeur of his surroundings. It's like a whole other world in here, he replied, a touch of admiration in his voice. As they continued their walk, Elder Liang struck up a conversation, his curiosity piqued by Lin Fei's unique abilities. So, Lin Fei, tell me about yourself, he began, his tone friendly. Lin Fei nodded, willing to share his story with the elder. Well, Elder Liang, I'm the son of Lin Zhongguan, he began. My father was the previous head of the Lin ancient family, but he disappeared under mysterious circumstances while investigating an event related to ancient devils. Elder Liang's eyebrows raised in surprise at the mention of Lin Zhongguan. Lin Zhongguan? He was indeed a remarkable talent. It's a shame what happened to him. Lin Fei nodded solemnly. After my father's disappearance, my uncle assumed control of the Lin family and cast me out. Since then, I've been wandering the cosmos, honing my skills and cultivating to reach the peak of the divine convergence realm. And the phoenix? Elder Liang inquired, curious about Lin Fei's divine encounter. Lin Fei's expression brightened as he recounted the blessing he had received. Ah, yes. A divine phoenix appeared in the eastern region a few months ago. I was fortunate enough to receive its blessing, granting me the ability to summon a phoenix. Elder Liang nodded thoughtfully. Ah, I remember hearing about that incident, he mused. It seems you've had quite the journey, Lin Fei. Lin Fei grinned, a sense of pride evident in his voice. You could say that, he replied, his tone tinged with satisfaction. But I've never been one to shy away from a challenge. As they walked, Elder Liang broached the topic of Lin Fei joining the Nangong family. You know, Lin Fei, with your talent and abilities, you would be a valuable addition to our family. Would you consider joining the Nangong family? Lin Fei hesitated for a moment, considering Elder Liang's offer. I appreciate the offer, Elder Liang, but I'm used to my freedom. I don't think I'd fare well with all the rules and restrictions of a family. Elder Liang nodded understandingly. I see. Well, the offer still stands. If you ever change your mind, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Lin Fei smiled gratefully. Thank you, Elder Liang. I'll keep that in mind. Their conversation continued as they made their way towards Lin Xingya's residence, the evening sun casting a warm glow over the bustling streets of the inner region. As Lin Fei and Elder Liang approached Lin Xingyao's residence, a sense of anticipation filled Lin Fei's chest. It had been far too long since he last saw his adopted sister, and he couldn't help but wonder if she missed him as much as he missed her. "Here we are," Elder Liang announced, gesturing towards the modest yet elegant dwelling before them. "This is Lin Xingyao's residence. I'll take my leave now. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out." "Thank you, Elder Liang," Lin Fei replied with a nod, his gaze fixed on the door of Lin Xingyao's residence as Elder Liang departed. As Lin Fei approached the door, his heart fluttered with excitement. But his anticipation quickly turned to shock when the door swung open, revealing not Lin Xingya, but Wang Jian. "What in the world?" Lin Fei muttered under his breath, his eyes widening in disbelief as he watched Wang Jian emerge from the house, his arms wrapped around Lin Xingya in an intimate embrace. His heart sank as he witnessed the scene unfolding before him. Lin Xingya, his beloved sister, was in the arms of another man, and not just any man, but his sworn enemy, Wang Jian. As Wang Jian leaned in to kiss Lin Xingya on the lips, Lin Fei's heart shattered into a million pieces. He felt a surge of jealousy and anger coursing through him, but he remained frozen in place, unable to tear his gaze away from the heartbreaking sight. Lin Fei's heart felt like it was being torn apart as he witnessed the scene before him. The woman he had loved and cherished as his own was now in the arms of another, and the realization left him feeling betrayed and devastated. In a flurry of emotions, jealousy and rage surged within him, his fists clenching at his sides as he struggled to contain his anger. How could she? Lin Fei thought bitterly, his mind swirling with a mix of hurt and indignation. I thought she loved me. But even as the fury threatened to consume him, Lin Fei remained rooted to the spot, unable to bring himself to disrupt the moment between Lin Xingya and Wang Jian. He knew that revenge would be sweet, but he wanted it to be calculated, to ensure that he could exact the ultimate punishment on them both. Unbeknownst to Lin Fei, Wang Jian had already sensed his presence, even though Lin Fei attempted to conceal himself while peeking at them. It was this awareness that prompted Wang Jian to emerge from Lin Xingyao's residence alongside her. However, Wang Jian couldn't help but feel a twinge of surprise at Lin Fei's ability to restrain his anger, even after witnessing Lin Xingya, the woman he loved, kissing Wang Jian, the man he despised. Wang Jian couldn't help but admire Lin Fei's resilience. He's quite the interesting protagonist, he mused to himself, a devilish smile playing on his lips. I wonder how long he can keep up this facade. Recognizing the potential danger in provoking Lin Fei, especially with Elder Liang's presence nearby, Wang Jian decided to bide his time and see how events unfolded. Breaking away his lips from Lin Xingya's, Wang Jian suggested they visit Shui Shuiying's residence. Lin Xingya couldn't hide her irritation at the thought of accompanying Wang Jian to his mistress's home. Visit en Velben, cm for you ovals. You're so tactless, she scolded him, her frustration evident. Wang Jian chuckled softly, his voice low as he whispered in her ear, but that's what I like about Shui Shuiying. She's so obedient. If I had told her about it, I am sure she would have accepted without even thinking about it. Lin Xingya's shock was palpable, unsure of how to respond to Wang Jian's revelation. However, his next words piqued her interest. If you come with me, I'll make sure to spend more time with you than with Shui Shuiying in her house, he promised, his words sparking a glimmer of victory in Lin Xingya's eyes. Eager to assert her dominance over Shui Shuiying, Lin Xingya readily agreed, intertwining her arm with Wang Jian's as they made their way toward Shui Shuiying's residence. As Wang Jian and Lin Xingya walked away toward Shui Shuiying's residence, Lin Fei lingered for a moment before steeling himself and setting off in the opposite direction. His mind was set on finding Elder Liang, determined to accept the elder's offer and seek vengeance against Wang Jian and Lin Xingya. Lin Fei scanned the area, his eyes darting around as he searched for any sign of Elder Liang. He knew he had to act quickly if he wanted to catch up to Elder Liang. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Lin Fei, Elder Liang had not left the vicinity. Instead, he had remained hidden, observing the unfolding events with keen interest. His curiosity had been piqued by the unexpected encounter between Lin Fei and Lin Xingya. When he noticed Lin Fei's departure without approaching Lin Xingya, Elder Liang deduced that Wang Jian's presence must have deterred him. Sensing the tension between Lin Fei and Wang Jian, Elder Liang couldn't help but wear a slightly manipulative smile. As Lin Fei stormed off toward the Nangong family's palace, Elder Liang wasted no time. With a swift movement, he took to the air, soaring toward the palace in haste. He knew he needed to arrive ahead of Lin Fei to ensure everything was in place for their meeting. Meanwhile, as Wang Jian and Lin Xingya approached Shui Shuiying's residence, they were met with a serene atmosphere. The soft glow of lanterns illuminated the pathway, casting a warm, inviting light. Lin Xingya's unease from earlier had dissipated, replaced by a sense of anticipation. She glanced up at Wang Jian, a playful smile tugging at her lips. "So, what mischief do you have planned for tonight?" Wang Jian chuckled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Oh, you'll see," he replied cryptically, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Inside the residence, Shui Shuiying was busy preparing tea, her movements graceful and fluid. She glanced up as Wang Jian and Lin Xingya entered, a warm smile lighting up her features. "Ah, you're back," she greeted them warmly. "I've just finished making tea." Wang Jian's gaze lingered on Shui Shuiying, admiration gleaming in his eyes. "You always know how to make us feel welcome," he remarked, his tone appreciative. As they settled down in the cozy sitting area, Shui Shuiying poured the tea, the fragrant aroma filling the room. Lin Xingya couldn't help but admire the elegant decor of the residence, her gaze drifting around the room. "So, how was your day?" Shui Shuiying inquired, turning her attention to Lin Xingya and Wang Jian. Wang Jian leaned back, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. "It was eventful, to say the least," he replied, exchanging a knowing glance with Lin Xingya. Lin Xingya nodded, her lips curving into a mischievous grin. "Oh, you have no idea," she teased, casting a playful glance at Wang Jian. The trio spent the evening chatting and laughing, the tension from earlier forgotten in the warmth of their companionship. As the night wore on, they found themselves engrossed in lively conversation, the hours slipping away unnoticed. Meanwhile, Elder Liang arrived at the Nangong family's palace, his presence commanding attention as he made his way through the bustling corridors. Guards and servants alike bowed respectfully as he passed, acknowledging his authority within the family. Entering a secluded chamber, Elder Liang settled into a comfortable chair, his mind racing with thoughts of Lin Fei and the potential he saw in the young man. He knew that offering Lin Fei a place within the Nangong family could prove beneficial, both for the family and for Lin Fei himself. As he waited for Lin Fei to arrive, Elder Liang pondered the best approach to broach the subject. He knew he would have to tread carefully, ensuring that Lin Fei understood the gravity of the offer while also respecting his independence. Lost in his thoughts, Elder Liang remained vigilant, ready to greet Lin Fei with open arms when the time came. Lin Fei's heart pounded with anticipation as he approached the grandeur of the Nangong family's palace. He felt a surge of determination coursing through him, knowing that this meeting with Elder Nangong Liang could potentially change the course of his revenge. Approaching the guards stationed at the entrance, Lin Fei spoke with a sense of urgency, "I need to see Elder Nangong Liang immediately." The guards exchanged a knowing glance, confirming that they had been instructed to expect Lin Fei. One of them nodded respectfully, saying, "Right this way, sir." Following the guard's lead, Lin Fei was guided through the intricate corridors of the palace until they reached the abode of Elder Nangong Liang. With a nod of gratitude, Lin Fei watched as the guard returned to his post. Stepping into the abode, Lin Fei's gaze fell upon Elder Nangong Liang, who was seated on a plush sofa in the living room. The elder gestured for Lin Fei to take a seat beside him, and Lin Fei obliged, feeling a surge of nervous energy. "So, young man, what brings you here?" Elder Liang inquired kindly, his eyes displaying a hint of curiosity. Lin Fei took a deep breath, steeling himself for the conversation ahead. Elder Liang, I've thought it through, and I'm willing to join the Nangong family, he began earnestly. Elder Liang nodded, a faint smile playing on his lips. I see. And do you have any conditions? Lin Fei hesitated for a moment before laying out his terms. Firstly, I request 50 emerald wyvern scales pellets. These rare and potent flame attribute pellets are crucial for my cultivation. Elder Nangong Liang raised an eyebrow, considering the request. 50 pellets is quite a substantial number. However, I believe it's a reasonable request considering your potential contribution to our family. Lin Fei's lips curve into a satisfied smile, grateful for Elder Nangong Liang's swift acceptance of his first condition. Thank you, he acknowledges, a sense of anticipation building within him. However, Elder Nangong Liang interjects, his tone serious yet measured. What is your second condition? Lin Fei's expression grows more determined as he prepares to disclose his next demand. My second condition is that the Nangong family supports me in dealing with Wang Jian, he declares boldly. I require your assistance in thwarting any attempts to defend him. Elder Nangong Liang's brows furrow slightly as he contemplates Lin Fei's request. While he understands the gravity of the situation, he also recognizes the potential risks involved in opposing Wang Jian. F0 Low New Hapters at NOV/EL/bin/.com. Nonetheless, he remains steadfast in his resolve to support Lin Fei's cause. Elder Nangong Liang spoke, Wang Jian is a formidable man, backed by heiresses of Shui ancient family and even the Lin ancient family. However, if this is your wish, I shall honor it. Your vendetta against him seems deeply personal. Lin Fei's jaw clenched with determination as he nodded in confirmation. Indeed, it is. Elder Nangong Liang regarded Lin Fei for a moment before voicing his own condition. In return for your requests, I ask for your unwavering assistance in my bid to become the head of the Nangong ancient family. Lin Fei's eyes widened in surprise at the unexpected condition. Yet, after a moment of contemplation, he realized the potential benefits of aligning with Elder Nangong Liang's ambitions. After a brief pause, Lin Fei nodded resolutely. I agree to your condition, Elder Nangong. Your leadership would undoubtedly be beneficial for the Nangong family. A satisfied smile graced Elder Nangong Liang's features as he extended his hand towards Lin Fei. Then let it be so. Together, we shall achieve great things. Lin Fei grasped the elder's hand firmly, sealing their agreement with a handshake. After sealing the agreement with Elder Nangong Liang, Lin Fei dove headfirst into his training regimen. For the next 3 days, he consumed emerald wyvern scales pellets with a fervor, each pellet infusing his body with fiery energy. With each pellet ingested, Lin Fei could feel the flames within him intensifying, coursing through his veins like molten lava. As he consumed the 40th pellet, a sensation of warmth enveloped Lin Fei's body, intensifying with each passing moment. Beads of sweat formed on his brow as the flames within him surged, igniting his senses with newfound power. Whoa, that's some serious heat, Lin Fei muttered to himself, feeling the flames coursing through his veins like molten lava. With a deep breath, he focused his mind, channeling the fiery energy within to refine his divine soul. It was a grueling process, every fiber of his being engulfed in the searing embrace of the flames. But as the flames subsided, a sense of euphoria washed over Lin Fei as he realized the transformation that had taken place. His divine soul had been reborn, infused with the elemental power of flame, marking his ascension to the divine spirit realm. A grin spread across his face as he felt the newfound strength coursing through him. With his flame attribute divine spirit, Lin Fei knew that his abilities would be unrivaled among those of his peers. His phoenix flames, already formidable, would now reach unprecedented levels of power, fueled by the fusion with his divine spirit. Emerging from his closed-door cultivation, Lin Fei sought out Elder Nangong Liang. A sense of exhilaration coursed through him, eager to showcase the extent of his newfound strength. Finding Elder Nangong Liang in the courtyard, Lin Fei greeted him with a confident smile. "Elder Nangong, I've completed my cultivation breakthrough. Allow me to demonstrate the power of my flames." Elder Nangong Liang nodded, his curiosity piqued as he watched Lin Fei prepare for a display of his abilities. With a focused expression, Lin Fei summoned forth his flames, the air around him shimmering with intense heat. Elder Nangong Liang's eyes widened in astonishment as he felt the scorching aura emanating from Lin Fei's flames. "Remarkable," the elder murmured, impressed by the potency of Lin Fei's fire. "Even at my level of cultivation, your flames pose a significant threat." Lin Fei's chest swelled with pride at the elder's acknowledgement. "Thank you, Elder Nangong. With this newfound power, I'm confident in my ability to confront Wang Jian." 3 days prior, in the depths of Shui Shuiying's residence, Wang Jian reveled in the afterglow of a night filled with passion and pleasure. Entwined with both Shui Shuiying and Lin Xingya, he had indulged in the ultimate fantasy, a heated threesome that left them all breathless and satisfied. As the morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow in the room, Wang Jian rose from the bed, leaving Shui Shuiying and Lin Xingya still lost in the depths of slumber. With a satisfied smile playing on his lips, he quietly slipped out of the bedroom and made his way to the living room of Shui Shuiying's residence. Seating himself on the sofa, Wang Jian took a moment to reflect on the abundance of Providence energy he had gathered through his intimate encounters. Time to take the next step, he mused to himself, his mind already focused on the prospect of breaking through from the divine convergence realm to the coveted realm of the divine spirit. With practiced ease, Wang Jian initiated the process of his breakthrough, channeling the amassed Providence energy to fuel his ascent. As he delved deeper into meditation, he felt the subtle shifts within his body, the energies aligning in perfect harmony as he approached the threshold of enlightenment. To his satisfaction, the transition was remarkably smooth, a testament to the wealth of providence he had accumulated. With each passing moment, Wang Jian could sense himself drawing closer to his goal, his spirit resonating with newfound power. With each surge of power coursing through him, Wang Jian felt his abilities reaching new heights, his essence merging seamlessly with the divine forces that surrounded him. As he basked in the euphoria of his newfound strength, Wang Jian couldn't shake the lingering thoughts of Lin Fei from his mind. "There's still more providence to be absorbed from Lin Fei," he thought with a sly grin, relishing the prospect of further diminishing his rival's potential. With each passing day, Wang Jian honed his skills, refining his techniques in preparation for the impending tournament. 10 days slipped by in a blur of rigorous training and strategic planning, the anticipation mounting as the day of the main tournament drew near. On the day of the tournament, excitement buzzed in the air as the participants, all boasting formidable prowess at the divine spirit realm, gathered in anticipation of the battles to come. The atmosphere crackled with energy as competitors from far and wide converged upon the arena, each determined to prove their strength and claim victory in the ultimate test of skill. Wang Jian surveyed the crowd with a confident smirk, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Let the games begin," he muttered to himself, a thrill coursing through his veins as he prepared to unleash his full power upon the battlefield. The first round of the tournament kicked off, and Lin Xingya found herself amidst the bustling arena while sitting next to Wang Jian, Shui Shuiying, and Ji Shi. And soon, she caught sight of someone she knew, her brother in whose family she had been adopted. It had been ages since she laid eyes on him, and she couldn't help but feel a pang of surprise seeing him here, of all places. In the heat of the moment, Lin Xingya's attention was drawn to the arena floor, where Lin Fei swiftly dispatched his opponent with a single ferocious attack, engulfing them in searing flames. The sudden brutality of his victory left Lin Xingya frowning in disbelief. "Burning someone alive? Seriously, Fei?" Lin Xingya muttered to herself, a crease forming between her brows as she grappled with her brother's ruthless display. Her thoughts were interrupted when Lin Fei pointed menacingly in the direction of Wang Jian, his gaze sharp with determination. A surge of anger welled up inside Lin Xingya as she watched her adoptive brother's bold challenge. "Lin Fei, what are you doing?" she muttered, a hint of frustration creeping into her voice. Meanwhile, Wang Jian observed the unfolding spectacle with a smirk playing on his lips. The display of Lin Fei's power only fueled his anticipation for their impending confrontation. As the matches concluded and the group left the arena, the atmosphere shifted to a more relaxed tone. The girls, eager to share their victories with Wang Jian, chattered excitedly as they made their way to a nearby cafe. "It was incredible! Did you see how I countered his attacks?" Shui Shuiying exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She nodded in agreement, her enthusiasm evident as she recounted her own triumphs in the arena. "And did you see my final move? I modified it recently to enhance the power of that attack." Wang Jian listened with a smile, offering praise and encouragement to each of them in turn. "You were all amazing out there," he said warmly, his gaze sweeping over the group. However, their cheerful banter was abruptly interrupted by a sudden surge of power, prompting Wang Jian to spring into action. With a swift motion, he conjured a protective barrier around himself and the girls, shielding them from the incoming attack. The flames dispersed harmlessly against the barrier, leaving the group unscathed but on high alert. Lin Fei's arrival was unmistakable, his cold demeanor casting a palpable tension over the scene. Lin Xingya's eyes widened in surprise as she watched her brother's bold challenge to Wang Jian. "Lin Fei, what are you doing?" she exclaimed, her voice tinged with concern. "Wang Jian, this was just a glimpse of what you will face tomorrow in the match against me. So heed my advice and enjoy today as much as you can, because tomorrow will be your last," Lin Fei declared, his tone icy with resolve. Wang Jian's reaction, however, was one of dismissive nonchalance. "Is that all you have to say, Lin Fei?" he retorted, his tone laced with disdain. "If you want to defeat me, you'll need more than just empty threats." Lin Fei's expression hardened at Wang Jian's taunt, his determination unwavering. "We'll see about that," he replied, his voice dripping with defiance. With tension simmering beneath the surface, the group parted ways, each member consumed by their own thoughts and preparations for the battles that lay ahead. As Lin Fei's threatening words faded into the air, leaving behind a tense atmosphere, Lin Xingya, Shui Shuiying, and Shi turned to Wang Jian with concern etched on their faces. "Are you going to be okay, Wang Jian?" Lin Xingya asked, her voice tinged with worry. Lin Fei's flames seemed really dangerous. Wang Jian flashed them a reassuring smile, his demeanor calm and collected. "Don't worry, girls," he replied confidently. "I can handle whatever Lin Fei throws at me. Besides, I've faced tougher opponents than him before." His words seemed to ease their concerns, and Lin Xingya let out a relieved sigh. "Okay, if you say so," she said, her expression softening. With Shi excusing herself to head back to her residence, Wang Jian, Lin Xingya, and Shui Shuiying made their way to Lin Xingya's residence. Once inside, the atmosphere shifted, and Wang Jian wasted no time in initiating a steamy threesome with Lin Xingya and Shui Shuiying. As their clothes were torn apart in a frenzy of desire, the room filled with the sounds of their passionate moans and the scent of their arousal. Wang Jian's hands roamed greedily over their smooth skin, reveling in the intoxicating sensation of their bodies pressed against his. "Gods, you two are so beautiful," he murmured huskily, his voice laced with desire. As the night deepened, the atmosphere in Lin Xingya's residence grew increasingly heated, fueled by the passionate desires of Wang Jian, Lin Xingya, and Shui Shuiying. With fervent kisses and eager hands, they surrendered to the intoxicating allure of their shared intimacy. Wang Jian's touch ignited a fiery trail across Lin Xingya's skin, his fingers tracing the curves of her body with a tantalizing caress. With each touch, she quivered with anticipation, her breath hitching as he teased her sensitive flesh. "Not fair, Wang Jian," Lin Xingya murmured, her voice laced with desire as he toyed with her. You know just how to drive me wild. Wang Jian chuckled softly, the sound sending shivers down her spine. That's the idea, my dear, he whispered huskily, his lips trailing along her neck. I want to see you lose control. Meanwhile, Shui Shuiying watched the exchange with a mixture of excitement and longing, her own desire burning brightly in her eyes. As Wang Jian turned his attention to her, she couldn't help but tremble with anticipation, her heart pounding with anticipation. With each touch, Wang Jian pushed them to the brink of ecstasy, his passion igniting a fierce hunger within them. As they surrendered to the pleasure, they lost themselves in the heat of the moment, each sensation more intense than the last. 10:25. With a wicked grin, Wang Jian pulled Shui Shuiying into his embrace, his hands roaming greedily over her curves. He reveled in the softness of her skin, his fingers tracing patterns of desire across her flesh. You're so beautiful, Shui Shuiying, he murmured, his voice thick with desire. I can't wait to explore every inch of you. With eager hands, Wang Jian guided Shui Shuiying onto the bed, his touch igniting a fierce passion between them. As their bodies melded together in a fevered embrace, they lost themselves in the throes of ecstasy, each moment more intoxicating than the last. In the heat of the moment, Wang Jian took control, his dominance fueling their desire as he led them through a series of sensual pleasures. With each thrust and caress, they surrendered to the pleasure, their bodies entwined in a symphony of desire. More, Lin Xingya pleaded, her voice a breathless whisper as Wang Jian ravished her with his touch. I need more. Wang Jian grinned wickedly, his desire burning brightly in his eyes. You'll get everything you desire, my dear, he whispered huskily, his lips trailing a path of fire across her skin. With each touch, Wang Jian pushed them to the brink of ecstasy, his passion igniting a fierce hunger within them. As they surrendered to the pleasure, they lost themselves in the heat of the moment, each sensation more intense than the last. The night passed in a blur of passion and desire, their bodies entwined in a dance of ecstasy. With each thrust and caress, they lost themselves in the throes of pleasure, their desire burning brightly in the darkness. Up to TED Chapters NN.com. As the first light of dawn began to break across the horizon, they lay entwined in each other's arms, their bodies sated and spent from their night of passion. With a contented sigh, they drifted off to sleep, their dreams filled with memories of their shared ecstasy. As the first rays of sunlight filtered through the windows, Wang Jian, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingya slowly stirred from their slumber, their bodies entwined in the aftermath of their passionate night together. With languid movements, they stretched and yawned, their minds still hazy with the remnants of their shared ecstasy. Good morning, my beauties, Wang Jian murmured, his voice husky with sleep as he pressed a tender kiss to Lin Xingya's lips. Did you sleep well? Lin Xingya's cheeks flushed as she returned his kiss, her heart fluttering with the lingering sensations of their night together. Like a dream, she whispered, her voice soft with affection. Shui Shuiying giggled playfully, her eyes dancing with mischief as she leaned in to steal a kiss from Wang Jian. I couldn't agree more, she purred, her fingers trailing teasingly down his chest. With a satisfied smile, Wang Jian wrapped his arms around both women, pulling them close in a warm embrace. I'm glad to hear it, he murmured, his voice filled with contentment. As they lingered in each other's arms, the scent of their shared passion lingering in the air, they eventually stirred from their embrace and made their way to the bathroom. With playful laughter and teasing glances, they stripped off their clothes and climbed into the tub together, the warm water enveloping their bodies in a soothing embrace. With mischievous grins, Wang Jian wasted no time in indulging in the pleasures of the moment, his hands roaming freely over the curves of Lin Xingya and Shui Shuiying's bodies. With playful splashes and teasing caresses, they surrendered to the intoxicating allure of their shared intimacy, their laughter mingling with the steam rising from the water. Careful, Wang Jian, Lin Xingya teased, her eyes sparkling with amusement as she batted his hands away. You're going to drown us with all that splashing. Wang Jian chuckled softly, his gaze lingering hungrily on Lin Xingya's curves. Can you blame me? He replied, his voice thick with desire. You're both irresistible. Shui Shuiying giggled, her cheeks flushed with excitement as she leaned in to steal a kiss from Wang Jian. Flatterer, she teased, her fingers tracing patterns of desire across his chest. As they luxuriated in the warmth of the water, their playful banter and teasing touches filled the air, each moment filled with a sense of shared intimacy and desire. With each caress and kiss, they surrendered to the pleasure of the moment, their bodies entwined in a symphony of desire. After a leisurely soak, they emerged from the tub, their bodies tingling with warmth and contentment. With a contented sigh, they wrapped themselves in plush towels, the soft fabric enveloping them in a comforting embrace. As they dried themselves off, they exchanged playful banter and teasing glances, their laughter filling the room with warmth and joy. With each shared moment, they felt a sense of connection that brought them closer together. Once they were dressed, they made their way back to the main room, their hearts light with anticipation for the day ahead. With a smile, Wang Jian took both Shui Shuiying and Lin Xingya's hands in his gaze filled with warmth and affection. Ready for whatever the day throws at us? He asked, his voice filled with excitement. Shui Shuiying and Lin Xingya exchanged a knowing glance before nodding eagerly in agreement. Absolutely, Shui Shuiying replied, her voice filled with determination. As the trio emerged from Lin Xingya's residence, the bustling streets of the city greeted them with a cacophony of sounds and colors. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the cobblestone streets as they made their way towards the arena. Wang Jian, Shui Shuiying, and Lin Xingya walked side by side, their steps filled with anticipation for the day's events. As they strolled along, they exchanged light-hearted banter and laughter, their voices mingling together in a symphony of camaraderie. Suddenly, their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of Xi, the direct disciple of the sect mistress of Heavenly Jade Pavilion. With a warm smile, Xi joined the group, her presence adding a sense of elegance and grace to their ensemble. Hey there, Xi. Fancy meeting you here, Wang Jian greeted her with a charming smile. Newest tirais at n/vel/b/i/n.co. Xi returned his smile with a nod of acknowledgement. Likewise, Wang Jian. It seems we're all headed to the arena, she replied, her voice tinged with excitement. As they continued on their way, the women turned their attention to Wang Jian, curiosity gleaming in their eyes. So, Wang Jian, are you feeling confident about your match against Lin Fei? Shui Shuiying asked, her voice laced with anticipation. Wang Jian flashed them a confident grin. Of course! I'll show you all what I'm capable of in the arena, he replied, his voice brimming with assurance. Before long, they arrived at the arena, the imposing structure looming before them like a colossus. With a sense of excitement coursing through their veins, they made their way inside, the buzz of anticipation filling the air. As the crowd gathered in the stands, the atmosphere crackled with energy, the anticipation palpable as they awaited the first match of the day. Soon, Wang Jian and Lin Fei took their places on the stage, their eyes locked in a fierce gaze as they prepared to face off against each other. The referee raised his hand, signaling the start of the match. Let the battle begin, he declared, his voice echoing throughout the arena. With a fierce cry, Lin Fei unleashed a torrent of flames at Wang Jian, his Phoenix Ascension technique igniting the air with its fiery brilliance. Wang Jian smirked, his eyes gleaming with determination as he braced himself for the onslaught. To Lin Fei's surprise, his flames seemed to pass right through Wang Jian as if he were nothing but air. With a swift counterattack, Wang Jian unleashed a barrage of flames of his own, the intensity of his attack catching Lin Fei off guard. Lin Fei gritted his teeth, his mind racing as he tried to devise a strategy to counter Wang Jian's relentless assault. With a swift motion, he conjured a barrier of phoenix flames around himself, hoping to shield himself from the onslaught. However, to his dismay, Wang Jian's flames proved to be more powerful than he had anticipated, his attacks breaking through Lin Fei's defenses with ease. With each strike, Lin Fei felt the searing heat of the flames, his body protesting against the onslaught. But Lin Fei was not one to back down so easily. With a determined glint in his eye, he summoned forth the full power of his phoenix flames, his attacks becoming fiercer and more relentless with each passing moment. With a swift motion, Lin Fei conjured a whirlwind of flames, his phoenix cyclone technique engulfing the stage in a blazing inferno. Wang Jian countered with a burst of flame energy, his flame burst strike tearing through the fiery tempest with ease. As the two opponents danced across the stage, their attacks and counterattacks coming in rapid succession, the crowd watched in awe at the spectacle unfolding before them. It was a battle of epic proportions, a clash of elemental energies that would determine the fate of the tournament. With each passing moment, the intensity of the battle grew, the stage becoming a battleground where only the strongest would emerge victorious. Lin Fei and Wang Jian pushed themselves to their limits, their determination unyielding as they fought tooth and nail for supremacy. But despite Lin Fei's best efforts, Wang Jian's superior mastery of the flame element became increasingly evident with each attack. His flames burned with an intensity that seemed to surpass even the phoenix flames of Lin Fei, his attacks striking with unerring accuracy and ferocity. With a fierce cry, Lin Fei unleashed a series of lightning-fast strikes, his phoenix fury technique tearing through the air with a deafening roar. But Wang Jian was ready, his own defensive techniques proving to be more than a match for Lin Fei's onslaught. With a deft movement, Wang Jian countered Lin Fei's attack with a powerful burst of flame energy, his flame spiral technique engulfing Lin Fei in a swirling vortex of fire. Lin Fei gritted his teeth, his body racked with pain as he struggled to break free from the fiery prison. But Wang Jian was relentless, his attacks coming in rapid succession as he sought to wear down Lin Fei's defenses. With each strike, he displayed his mastery of both divine energy and spiritual energy, his control over the elements unparalleled. Despite the odds stacked against him, Lin Fei refused to back down. With a fierce determination burning in his eyes, he summoned forth the full power of his phoenix flames, his attacks becoming even more ferocious as he sought to turn the tide of battle in his favor. But as the battle raged on, it became increasingly clear that Wang Jian held the upper hand. His mastery of the flame element, coupled with his formidable divine energy and spiritual energy, gave him an edge that Lin Fei struggled to match. With a final, decisive blow, Wang Jian unleashed a torrent of flame energy, his flame tempest technique engulfing Lin Fei in a blazing inferno. Lin Fei fought valiantly, but in the end, he was no match for the overwhelming power of his opponent. Well, truckers, that's all for this part. See you all in the next video.